Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is my review of Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. So, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, basically, Shao Kahn and other forces from Outworld are trying to take over Earthrealm, so Raiden and his chosen warriors have got to defend it. Got a little bootleg version of it here. I don't think you can actually find this on DVD in the US. I had to find this online. I haven't even watched it yet. I don't even know if it's all there and intact or correct. You can also find this on YouTube, so, you know, you got that going for it. Anyways, so I'm going to be hitting every single episode. The first episode we'll be covering is episode 1. Combat Begins Again. My nose just popped out, didn't it? A little wardrobe malfunction there. Alright, so anyways, so the very first episode, basically the gist of it is, Sector Cyrax, they have their cybernetic ninjas invading. And of course, while this is going on, you also have the threat of Scorpion on the horizon showing up. And then Sub-Zero shows up. And he starts helping the defenders. And we're trying to figure out, whose side is he on? We're going to find out. Okay, so before I get into this episode, this particular review is going to be a little bit longer. Because I want to talk about, I guess, how I got into the show initially, even though not very much. And then how I found it, you know, years later. So this thing came out in like 96. That would have made me 11. And I remember when I heard of it, I don't remember if I saw a commercial for it, if I just happened to see it in TV Guide, which was a thing, or how I came about this exactly. But I do remember being super excited for a Mortal Kombat cartoon. Like, I was all about it. And being pumped. Now, the problem was, I lived out in the country. We had an antenna that got maybe 4 channels on a good day. Other than that, it was always snow and staggy stuff. So, and it was always network television that you were picking up. Or, you know, public broadcast, whatever. But we had no cable channels. We didn't have a satellite dish, we didn't have cable, nothing like that. So the only time I ever got to watch cable was on the weekends. I'd go to my grandmother's house. She lived in town. And I stayed a weekend with her. And so I got to watch, you know, and I was like a Nickelodeon kid. So, like, yeah, I grew up on, like, cable TV of the 90s. It wasn't an issue. For some reason, though, this I just kept missing. I remember watching maybe 2 episodes, or like an episode and a half, and I think the issue became, it came on like 9:30, and I would usually stay up stupid late. At that point, I was discovering myself and discovering some Cinemax. So this kid was staying up pretty late on Friday nights, watching like Red Shoe Diaries and Emmanuel in Space or whatever, you know, Cinemax movies were playing, and so I'd sleep in, and I just never caught it hardly. I remember me and my cousin, he's also a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Me and him watched an episode together. I couldn't tell you now. I mean, even after watching the entire series, I don't know what episodes we watched. I know we watched an episode together, and I want to say maybe I caught an episode like halfway through. Like I woke up kind of in time to watch half an episode or whatever. And I just kept thinking, like, well, maybe it'll eventually come on like my stations, because that would happen. Sometimes stuff would go into syndication and you'd watch it, you know, whatever. And unfortunately, that never happened. And then I kept thinking, like, and this was an era of, like, VHS. And I was like, and it did come out on VHS. I do remember seeing it in Walmart. They didn't have, like, the full season, though. They had, like, episodes here and there. And I remember thinking, okay, at some point, I can just rent all these episodes. It will be good. And it just never happened. And then by the time, like, DVDs were a thing, it never got a legit DVD release. And I remember, I explained this back when I did my review for Mortal Kombat The Journey Begins, which was nothing connected to anything at all. But I remember when I saw that in the video stores, and it must have been much later, because I mean, that came out before the show, but when I saw the DVD in my family video, I remember thinking, oh, this must be like, you know, a companion to this. Like this, you know, the series must have been out for a while, and then they did a straight-to-video movie, and so I didn't want to watch that until I got caught up on this. And so I didn't watch either for many years to come, and it wasn't until recently I kind of discovered both of them again, and then realized, okay, they're 2 separate things altogether anyways, and it didn't matter. So anyways, Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm was something that just always eluded me and I always wanted to watch it. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to defend this show. Like, I know I try to be super positive when I do my reviews. I know a lot of people go for the funny, let's just make fun of stuff and tear it apart, and that's great. But, like, I'm going to hit you with, I don't know, when it comes to this franchise, I'm just a little bit more forgiving on things. And spoiler alert for the next few episodes, I'm a fan of the cartoon series. I think it's fine. How I kind of came back into it was just recently, like within a year or so, I'm watching someone was reviewing it. It just kind of popped up, and I was like, And I was like, we need to see if I can find it anywhere, and couldn't find it streaming anywhere, but then I found it on YouTube of all places. I was like, oh, freaking sweet. So, that's what I did. I just went ahead and typed it in, and then spent, the whole day watching every episode. And, my son, he's not really into it as much as I thought he'd be, because he likes random cartoons, but his taste is so whatever. And the only thing he likes about this is Raiden. And the funny thing about that is later on, I'm watching Big Trouble in Little China, and there's lightning, and he's just like, Raiden! And I'm like, no. And he goes, Raiden, that's Raiden. And I'm like, well, technically, I guess, kinda, but no. But anyways, that's what he associates with Raiden, and we all know why. So anyways, yeah. So whenever this is kind of playing in the background or whatever, he likes Raiden, and then he'll ask who the other characters are, because he never remembers them, but then that's kind of the end of it, and he loses interest pretty quickly. So yeah, I came back, rewatching it. Now, in recent times, I've been, getting more into the Mortal Kombat community. I never knew there was a community for Mortal Kombat. I just knew I was a fan. I assumed there was other fans out there. But as far as, like, engaging with other people or reading articles or watching other people's videos, I just never, really got into that. And now there's a community. I'm going into it fucking head first. And when I'm looking up, people talking about Defenders of the Realm, so much negativity. And that's fine. If you don't like it, I get it. I'm not trying to say, oh no, you should love it. So I'm not sure. No, it's definitely not. What I don't like is the reason people are saying they hate the show. Because bullshit reasons. You'll see it, like, on every countdown. There's, like, articles. 10 times the Mortal Kombat franchise screwed up. Several times that this franchise took a wrong turn, And this show always winds up on there. Now, here's the thing. It was red hot property at the time. Again, Mortal Kombat was huge in this country. Of course they was going to follow up with some kind of cartoon thing. Now, here's the funny thing. People will complain. Well, why on earth would they take a very violent, mature, rated video game and try to make a cartoon that's geared and targeted toward kids? Go fuck yourself. Are you kidding me right now with that shit? That game was clearly geared toward us at that age. I was a kid during this era. That game was speaking to us. The commercials were badass. Are you kidding me? And dude, it was all about, like, ninja and karate and martial arts in the 90s. Hell, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Three Ninjas, Surf Ninjas. Fuck, there was like a Karate Kid reboot that had Hilary Swank that was really bad, but we didn't give a shit. We love karate. And we saw Mortal Kombat video game. The center would be like, well, that was not aimed for kids. Fuck you, it wasn't aimed for kids. Are you kidding me right now, dude? And kids ate it up. They also made a comic book that, guess what? Aimed toward kids. Don't tell me it wasn't. You know it was. They had action figures geared toward kids. They had Tiger Electronic handheld video games geared toward adults. Don't go fuck yourself. Kids! Of course it was geared toward kids. So to be like, I can't believe they did. You're an idiot then. You're a fucking moron who doesn't deserve to be doing this shit. That's ridiculous. Of course they're going to try and gear this for kids. Why wouldn't they? Now, don't get me wrong. Would I have much rather had an HBO Spawn-like fucking dark, gritty Mortal Kombat cartoon? Hey, absolutely. I would have loved that, the hardcore violence and the fatalities. Of course. Even if it wasn't even like a rated R, if it could have been more just adult-oriented. Even like, remember MTV had Liquid Television? You had like the Max and Eon Flux and shit. If it could have been along that vein, sure. But it wasn't. We got USA cartoon Saturday morning action block that had like Street Fighter also paired up with it. That's what we got. Deal with it. And the fact that you would go into it trying to review it with the adult eyes of like, well, I'm a Mortal Kombat fan of the highest order, it must be violent. Dude, the movie was PG-13. So go fuck yourself. Oh, I can't say it enough. I'm sorry. I don't want to get negative. I'm coming in this thing with love, but it just irritates me that people are just so fucking stupid when they. I can't believe this. You made it card. Took the violence out of it. You have Mortal Kombat with no gore? Well, they did it with the movie, and the shitty little short that went with the movie. But anyway, so that was never a hang up for me. I was fine with it. It was cool. I was all right. Wasn't a big deal. And then that's the thing. I only saw an episode and a half as a kid and thought it was all right. As an adult, I watch it, and I'm thinking, it's still fine. I'm still down with it. It's cool. So anyways, let's get into, I guess, the characters first, and then we'll actually get into the episode. So, Mortal Kombat 3, it serves almost like a continuation from the video game, Mortal Kombat 3. Or sorry, I'm going to say the cartoon, Defenders of the Realm. Seems to be kind of picking up for Mortal Kombat 3, the video game. However, it's also connected to the movie in a way. It's almost, a little bit different, obviously. But they definitely took elements from the movie and tried to make it like a sequel of sorts, in a way. Which ain't gonna matter, because once Annihilation comes out, they ignore this completely anyways, and this thing was canceled over like 12 episodes, so it is what it is. But anyway, so we got the Defenders. So you got Raiden, of course, voiced by Clancy Brown. Fucking, Mr. Krabs, probably his biggest animation credit. That guy done like a ton of animation. He does other movies too. He was like in Pet Sematary 2. John dies at the end. I'm a fan of Clancy Brown. He was in Shawshank Redemption. Oh, Highlander. So, yeah, I like Clancy Brown. Just kind of a cool little get, I guess. I don't know. Which, again, this is not even a blip on his radar, but I guess for a Mortal Kombat fan, you're like, oh shit, this got some name recognition. And there's a couple other names kind of sprinkled throughout as well. Of course, Liu Kang comes back, obviously. Pretty much same Liu Kang as always. Nothing really changed about him. Katana, she's voiced by Cree Summers, which I'm not going to be a poser and go through her filmography. I just know she did Rugrats. I know she did a few other things. I want to say maybe she did like Drawn Together. And was she in Powerpuff Girls? I don't know. There's like a few female, like Tara Strong and a few other female voice actors that you just see all the time. Like just boom. If you look at their IMDb, there's like 500 credits for each of them, too. And then, voiceover, video games, cartoons, you name it, they did it. And, but, I recognize her name on here for Katana. So, with the 95 movie, from what I understand, there's supposed to be a love subplot with Liu Kang and Katana. Because at this point in the video games, there's none. Even up to part 3, nothing. In Liu Kang's ending, Katana comes back and thanks him, because she wasn't actually a playable character in part 3. And she thanks him for, hey, thank you for, again, stopping the Outworld, forces, and, you really help my people, you're helping yourself, thank you. But there was no romance there. And with Mortal Kombat the movie, I don't know if they filmed these scenes, or if it was just written in and they cut it out. Either way, but there were, like, certain moments you would see them kind of catch eyes, And so you can tell there was a subtext there, but it was nothing ever official. Here, they lean into it fucking heavily right off the bat. Like, right off the bat, you just know they're fucking. Like, they're gonna be fucking soon. Katana, Liu Kang, oh yeah, we're getting it right now. So, that's the biggest, I guess, takeaway from this one is we get the start of the Liu Kang Katana romance right here. You also got Jax and Sonya. Jax, I don't know, he's the funny guy, sarcastic. Kind of like what he would become in Annihilation, I guess. My biggest takeaway from this is there's a part where he calls Raiden girlfriend. Sure, why not? Sonya, she's probably the most annoying, and I hate that because I really liked her in the movie. But here she just cranked up to 11. She's gung-ho. She's a bit of a cunt. She's, I'll get into the storyline later, but she's a bitch, this Sub-Zero, this whole episode. She keeps yelling, combat time! That's like her catchphrase, I guess, and she runs into action to do stuff. Yeah, it just is what it is. Yeah, I got nothing else to add to that one. We get Stryker. My God, God bless him. This is probably the most respect he'll ever get in the franchise. Ever. Right here. And he's not treated bad. He's treated like one of the team. He's part of the crew, And, yeah, the happiest I'll be with Stryker is Defenders of the Realm. Because that's what it is. He's a jobber from here on out. Let's be really the jobber in Mortal Kombat 3 as well, but at least here he's given that proper respect. So, congratulations, Stryker. yeah, I'll try to get into traits and single scenes a little bit later. And then we got Nightwolf. He's the tech guy. I know he's supposed to be a shaman, but here he's a techie. He's the guy who's at the base, and he alerts you when there's rips in the fabric between the realms, and when portals are opening, and when people are attacking. He has a pet wolf named Kiva, new to the franchise, and whenever, like on command, Kiva will run and then like ghost into his chest, and then he becomes like the warrior Nightwolf. You know, what I think of here is, I told you guys I did, my deep dive on Mortal Kombat 3 that, this game, I just remember even at the time, people were like upset that, well, it's just a Native American stereotype, and they were bitching about that. And I guess they were just thinking, well, you know what? We'll just go a different direction. Native Americans aren't known for tech support. That's a different kind of Indian. So, you know what? We'll make this guy our techie, and he'll be the guy doing the computers and stuff. So, yeah. That's that. And then finally, as far as our defenders go, we got Sub-Zero. And he's voiced by, I already mentioned, Kurt Stryker's voiced by Ron Perlman, which I couldn't hear. I tried. I couldn't match that with Ron Perlman. Perlman has like a deep voice. He was Hellboy, for fuck's sake. And he's also in Alien Resurrection. Like, I love Ron Perlman. I don't hear Kurt Stryker him at all, but whatever. But Sub-Zero, so cool. He's voiced by Luke Perry, baby. And you can definitely hear Luke Perry's voice on this one right here. So yeah, and again, I'll get into plot, here in a little bit. So this episode starts off with we get Kiva and Nightwolf horse playing around in the cave. I guess they're trying to make you think, like, even like they do the intro and they tell you that Kiva is Nightwolf's pet. They start the scene off with Kiva stalking through the cave and then trying to attack, Nightwolf. Anyways, but, it's all just them horsing around. And, of course, hey, a big alert. And it turns out that Cyrax and Sector have brought cybernetic warriors to invade Earthrealm. And so right now, our, Liu Kang, Katana, Stryker, Jax, and Sonya are repelling this attack. So, as this is going on, we're getting to know the character of the game. We get Liu Kang, Katana, pretty much fucking without touching. Seriously, as soon as they see each other, they lock eyes for like the longest time. There's like a battle going on around them. It's like, guys, maybe let's take care of these robots first, whatever. So all the cybernetic warriors are all gray. Like, it looks like an army of smokes just fucking showing up. I know smoke has more of a bluish gray tint, but these motherfuckers are just gray as shit. But they all have the Sector missile, which kind of made Sector's missile not that important when it comes up later to me. I don't know. But anyways, so they're fighting. We get, we get all the moves. Liu Kang does his flying kick. And the credits, they show him do the bicycle kick as well. We get, Katana with her blade. She'll actually face off with Sector. In fact, that's the first stinger, like the first commercial break. He shows up and his missile comes out. And she freaks. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody else has been throwing missiles this entire battle. And it hasn't been a big deal. But anyways, she does her little fan wavy thing and knocks Sector out off the cliff. I don't know if she killed him or not. We don't really see him retreat with the others, but either way, took him down. And then Jax does his tremor. He hits the ground and fucking earthquake thing. Sonya does her ring, pink rings, and then Jax, of course, he just has his nightstick. It glows, and he can actually pull out. And later he'll seal a rift. He'll seal the portal. Apparently his nightstick has powers in this thing. They infuse it with magic, so Saturday morning cartoons. So anyway, as they're fighting this, then we get Sector. He shows up as well, and chasing them around. However, Sub-Zero shows up, skating in on some ice. And he ends up, freezing a bunch of them, and then it turns out, Sonya's the only one who's giving him shit. How can we trust you? You turned against, I'm like, okay, he turned against Lin Kuei, but that's who's attacking you right now. If he didn't betray the Lin Kuei, then it'd be him attacking. So, but they don't come out and say the cybernetics are Lin Kuei in this. So I don't know if in the cartoon it's canon or what. I don't know. They don't say it, but either way, that was their whole thing. They just pretty much say, like, they were he's supposed to team up with Scorpion. Because that's his whole thing. He brings the message that, hey, Scorpion's on his way, and he's bringing an army with him as well. Everybody has their own army in this thing, apparently. So anyway, that's the next wave, or going to be the next wave. But we find out that, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Sorry. So then Raiden shows up. Again, him and Jax have their own whatever, back and forth. He's like, I've been talking to the Elder Gods all day. I'm like, dude, you got like meetings and shit? Like, you're under attack here. This is whatever. Turns out, apparently, it's been happening more frequently. And they're afraid that with all these different random portals being opening between Outworld and Earthrealm, it's going to weaken the fabric, and then eventually there's going to be nothing there, and then Outworld will just be able to overtake us. And they're trying to keep it a secret from the Earthrealm people as well, so that's the kind of the whole thing. So anyways, once they end up throwing the cybernetic people back, and that's the other thing. Everybody's complaining about there's not enough violence. Dude, there's nothing but fight scenes in this opening sequence. Like, it's just fight scenes upon fight scenes. I don't know. I don't know what people are complaining about. I guess it's just lack of blood, I guess. But either way, so we get our fight scenes and everything. And then they, Sub-Zero tells them, like, hey, I want to help you guys, and they do a flashback to Liu Kang and Sub-Zero's fight. Except without Sub-Zero getting impelled by an icicle or whatever. But, he does get frozen. But plays out the exact same thing. And he kind of has doubts, like, could I have beaten Sub-Zero without Katana kind of guiding me? And she's like, listen, you can't be afraid because that's what's going to, that's worse than any attack we're getting right now is your own fear kind of thing. So anyways, they agree to bring Sub-Zero back to their headquarters. And, of course, Sonya Blade's against it, but whatever. And they get their fighter jets. I love that. Everybody can fly a jet. Like, these monks who, even if you're a great fighter, you can fly a fighter jet, but apparently they do in this world. So Jax, Stryker, and Liu Kang are the pilots, and everyone else is the co-pilots, and then they just fly to the tower. They got this cave tower thing. This is where it speaks to me as a 10-year-old kid, because I'm thinking back when I was a kid, and I'd play any kind of toys, whether Batman, Turtles, I went through different phases, Ghostbusters at one point, pro wrestling, Power Rangers, no matter what, though, I always had the two camps, like, living together, like they're just roommates, like, and friends, like, in two different camps. So, and it does kind of make sense on some of them, because I guess it's like, the Turtles, they do all live together in the sewer, but I'd have, like, Casey Jones bunking up with them, too. Or, April O'Neil was living down there. She didn't have her own apartment, she lived in the sewer with the Turtles, but that's just where everybody lived. Batman, same way, like, had old super friends, they were living in the Batcave. They lived at Wayne Mansion, or Wayne Manor. Constantly. And then bad guys are the same way for me. It's like, what? They're all villains, and they all have their own camps, but goddamn it, I put them in one giant complex, they live together. And that's what they're doing here. They literally just have, like, this cave base that they're all just sleeping and hanging out in or whatever. Just, I don't know. It's the simplest basic storytelling for 10-year-olds, and, like, the 10-year-old me would have ate that shit up. I'm like, yep, that's how it works. They're speaking to me right here. So, yeah, we get, this whole thing. Again, Nightwolf reflects on the fact that, like, yep, I'm a shaman, but I'm also doing this tech support thing. And it turns out, oh no, we got more company. Because it turns out the Nomads, which are technically the Tarkatans, I guess they didn't want to call them Tarkatans, they just call them Nomads, but they got their newest leader, Karbrak. We don't get Baraka in this series, which is a shame. Karbrak, who looks no different. They didn't even give him like a badge or a different colored vest. It's just they're all Tarkatans or Nomads looking exactly the same. It's ridiculous. But anyways, Karbrak is the new leader, and turns out they followed Sub-Zero there to their hideout. So, everyone's pissed at Sub-Zero, and they make him stay back at the base. So it's like him, Raiden, and Nightwolf, and Kiva, and everyone else goes out to fight. Turns out Nomads also are masters of fighter pilot jets, and so we get dogfights and shit. And it's funny because, like, Liu Kang starts off like, man, I'm nervous flying this thing. And then the very next scene, there's like a canyon, and like two mountains are this close together, and he just turns that bitch sideways, goes right through it, and I'm like, really? Man, that fear just melted away, huh? So anyways, we get some more fight scenes there, and it turns out that Karbrak brings a whole group to the actual cave. Now, Raiden leaves at this point, because he's going to try to make a portal to send them all back to. And so he heads back to his portal, or, go do that or whatever. And so it's Nightwolf and Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero's like, listen, you gotta trust me, let me fight with you. So Kiva jumps inside Nightwolf, he warriors up, and then Karbrak and the other Nomads show up, and then we have a big battle there. And they try to, get everyone else to, hey, we need help, back up, but they're all busy out there fighting as well. Anyways, long story short, they will destroy them. Yeah, like, the fucking Nightwolf, this bow and arrow with explosions, knocks all the nomads down. It looked like it could have died to me, but whatever. No violence, I guess. Anyways, and then, yeah, Sub-Zero takes out Carbrak, knocks him back. Didn't even put him in the lava, though. Like, just knocked him out cold. And they throw him on the group. And then Raiden shows back up. He's like, I'll take them back to their dimension. Or put them in dimension where they know their way there now. And so it's a secret. So he has to put them in a dark dimension where they'll never find their way back. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, this dude just threw him in a black hole and, like, told them fuck off. And he does. He sends them all away. So anyways, turns out that they actually, I guess, threw a bug on Sub-Zero, and they was trying to recruit him to join the dark side, and that's how they were able to follow him. He even said, like, they must have tracked me, and Raiden's like, whatever. And then he's like, oh, they were right, they did track you. There it is, I found it with my magical wand or whatever. And then, like, Sonya Blade's like, and then, he's like, I'm part of you guys now, and Sonya Blade's like, I'm sorry, I guess we're friends again, so... Yeah, it is what it is. So, but then they get the next warning, and it turns out, guess what? Scorpion is coming next. So, and we're getting ready for Scorpion Sub-Zero again. So, anyways, that was the first episode of, Defenders of the Realm. You know what? It sets up everything perfectly. It establishes every character, their quirks, their traits, everything. Gets all the backstory out of the way. We had major villains show up. We already had Cyrax, Sector. We didn't have Baraka. We had Carbrak. Whatever, I'll take it. And then we're heading at Scorpion coming next. So I thought this was good. I thought, again, it set up everything just fine. If I was a kid watching this and this is the first episode, I'm excited to see what comes next. I want to join these guys on the next adventure here. So that's all I got, guys. I'm giving this all a thumbs up. Again, I am more positive, a little more, but I'm not just putting on an act. Like, I genuinely think this is a decent show. It's not great. If I was to do, like, my top whatever animated shows of all time, it's not cracking the list. But it's a fine watch. I watched it once all the way through before I even thought about doing this show. Since then, I just kind of put it on the background, and my kid will kind of watch it from time to time or whatever before he gets tired of it and walks away. But yeah, and then when I started doing the show, I decided to revisit it again. Like I said, I got the DVD thing right here. I'm okay with it. I really am. So anyways, I'm not going to rate these or rank the episodes individually. I'll just kind of do it all in one big lump and then add it to the, main list later. So yeah, guys, we've got some more of these coming, so stay tuned. But yeah, that was the first episode. Combat begins. Combat begins again. So anyway, that's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Hey, this is the Netherrealm Nobody, and I'm here to review Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, Episode 2, Sting of the Scorpion. My God, that was a mouthful. Alrighty, so we're back with the second episode from the series, and I misspoke in the last week's episode. I said that there was 12 episodes in Defenders of the Realm. Nope, 13. So we're getting a 13th one. So anyways, in this episode, Sting of the Scorpion, as the title implies, Scorpion has arrived, and he has an army of the undead. That's right, and he's planning on going into Shang Tsung's, even though they say Shang Tsung in this one, we'll use the correct pronunciation, Shang Tsung's tomb, and yeah, the Defenders have got to stop him before he does it. Alrighty, so, with this episode right here, we kick things off. It picks up exactly where the first episode, leaves off, or left off, and I can't really stress this enough because I don't think anybody fully remembers, like, TV in the 90s. Like, with the exception of, like, soap operas, there was no continuity between TV shows. Like, there may be an overarching storyline that they will cover in, like, the premiere and the finale, and maybe a couple episodes in the middle, but for the most part, it was Monster of the Week every week. Every time you watched, like, Darkwing Duck, or fucking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Home Improvement, Full House, even the X-Files, which, yes, they had an overarching storyline, would have just random shit in the middle as well. So, for a mid-90s cartoon to literally just continue on with these 2 episodes, I was a little impressed with that, just right off the bat. And I definitely would have, as a kid, I would have, freaking loved it. So, we left off last week's episode with a message from Nightwolf saying that Scorpion is on his way. He has torn a rip in the fabric of the Earthrealm, and he is showing up, and he means business. Well, he's following through, and he is, he's coming in right now. So, we're at the base, and right off the bat, we get a lot of, because, last week they kind of implied, that Jax and Raiden kind of have this, they like to bicker a lot. They tag each other verbally and everything. Well, Sonya steps up to your game too, dude, and she just gets right up in Raiden's face and talks shit big time. It's crazy. But anyways, they're once again, hey, we gotta stop Scorpion. We're a team now. Sub-Zero's now joined up, so let's go stop him. And they jump in their jets. I forgot to mention this last week as well. The jets are also submarines. Because you fly, and then when there's water, you can go into the water, and then you're a sub. And then it comes up in the cave, and that's where their base is at. I mentioned last week it was funny that, like, everybody who's just a martial artist, some are Shaolin monks, one of them's a street cop, but they all know how to fly fighter jets now. And that now doubles as submarines. Now, I have never flown a jet or a submarine. I gotta assume they're different, right? I don't know if there's any, like, pilots out there or captains of submarines or fighter jets. Can you do both? Like, I'm curious. I really don't know. I just think it's funny that these guys who literally are just known to be martial artists or cops or whatever, but they're not pilots or captains of submarines, but now they are. So there you go. I guess they got their CDL or some shit on the weekend, huh? Anyway, so they jump in their jets and they head off. And of course, Raiden has to stay behind because, again, he does Elder God shit. And then Nightwolf is manning the control panel. He's manning the station at home. So they start flying out there, and we pick up again with Liu Kang and Katana, their conversation from last week, where Liu Kang is again doubting himself, thinking that had Katana not gave him the clue, of how to beat Sub-Zero, the original Sub-Zero, he doesn't think he could have done it. And of course, the whole time she's just like, listen, I kind of showed you the way, but you had to do it. Like, you still had to pull it off. It takes a great warrior to do that, I'm kind of in the middle on it because I'm like, I don't know, you did kind of have help. I mean, would you have figured that out on your own? Would he have beat your ass before that would have happened? I don't know. It is one of those things where it's like, I know the lessons, like, oh no, the power's within yourself, and you gotta believe in yourself, but at the same time, it's like, she did help you out. She told you the weakness, so I mean, I don't know, give her 50% of the credit, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so that's kind of weighing heavily on his mind. And so they get to, where the beacon or where the signal's coming from, where the tear in the realm is. And right off the bat, we see, when you say it out loud, it just sounds ridiculous. We see that, in fact, Scorpion does have an army of the undead. They're like skeletons, I guess, but like the top half seems normal. Like their arms don't seem like they're bony arms. It's almost like, I don't know, they got like their torso's ripped up and you got the skeletal bottom, but then the top's like, I guess it's still flesh, but they don't show blood because it's a cartoon for kids, so maybe they're like rotting corpses, I guess. I don't know. Either way though, they are flying the Scorpion jets. The Scorpion flyers, whatever you call them. They're fighter jets in the shape of a scorpion. And I'm like, what? Do they have like, forget even them getting their license to train to do all this shit. Where are they manufacturing these jets at? Are they manufacturing these in the Outworld? Are these done in the Netherrealm? Are they outsourcing it to Earthrealm and they pick them up from Earthrealm and they go? I don't know. It boggles the mind. But either way, these undead guys, they are flying around in their fighter jets. They have a big dogfight with defenders. They get shot down, and then they have fight on the ground. And everybody shines. Even my boy Stryker. He is. I still got to defend him. He's not a laughingstock in this series. He's a capable fucking fighter, and he fights off like 3 of these dudes at once. It's incredible. He like throws his nightstick at him and it twirls and just bowls him over and shit. Pretty impressive, Striker. You're doing good, buddy. I'm proud of you. I will say, so the undead, like I mentioned, you know, they got kind of like, you know, skeletons. Cause they were like, oh my god, they're skeletons. They're not really skeletons. Like I said, they kind of have whole parts to them too. But they all wear the same, like, headdress / helmet thing. It looks like a King Tut. Like, if you would stripe these blue and gold, it would be King Tut's headwear or whatever. That's what it looks like. They're just red and silver headwear on top. And then zombie bottom or whatever. And they're called the undead, which, to me, I know what that means. They're not really dead, but they should be dead, but they're moving around. But, like, I always associate undead with vampires. And the living dead with zombies. These would be more like the Evil Dead. You know, Army of Darkness. That's kind of what these things are, but whatever. I'm splitting hairs. I know. I digress. So we get Scorpion. He shows up, and we get kind of a backstory with him. So basically with Scorpion, it's different than the video games. Basically what it is, and this may have fell in line with the comics, I believe. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I feel like I've read this somewhere else. So this wasn't the first time I heard this backstory. But what it is basically is, you know, when like warriors die, you know, they go to Valhalla. You know, if you're a good person, you go to heaven or whatever. And so like his clan goes to like this other realm or whatever. But since he's so dishonorable, it like closed off before he can get to it. And he then gets taken down to the realm of lost souls, which is basically the Netherrealm. They didn't call it Netherrealm yet, but that's where he's at, the Netherrealm. And so, but when he's down there, he's so evil, he's just like, I will be back. And he takes all of these dark souls into his body, which, correct me if I'm wrong again, but isn't that Ermac? Like, isn't that what his gimmick was? He was just a vessel, a body, that was just housing dark souls until he became like an animated warrior or some shit? I don't know, I feel like that's what that is. Anyways, that's what Scorpion now is going on for him right now. And so, he pops up and yeah, he decided to bring his army of the undead to the Earthrealm. And it turns out he's getting another portal and he just, boom, goes into it. And they realize, what's he doing? He's going realm to realm, resurrecting the most dishonorable soldiers or warriors who have died in battle, and he's making his own army. And apparently, once he gets the full army, he's coming back to Earthrealm. Interesting storyline. I don't know if I like it as Scorpion or not. Like, even in the games, he's more of a loner. I know they, you know, talk about his clan or whatever, but it's like, we've always known him as a loner, especially in this stage of his life. He's full-blown loner. In this show, however, I don't know. A lot of the coolness, like, no, Scorpion is my favorite Mortal Kombat character. He's so badass. However, they take everything that made him badass. Like, he was more badass in the Legend Begins, the shitty Mortal Kombat short. And, of course, the Mortal Kombat movie, he's awesome. But here, he's reduced to almost like, he reminds me of like a G.I. Joe villain. Blast, I'll get you next time. I don't know. It's just, it's so cheesy and corny. But whatever. So he gets his army and they go to the next world, which is Outworld. Now, of course, Raiden can't go. And of course, again, Jax and Sonya give him shit about that. But he's just like, hey, I can't go. You have to do this on your own. But I can, if you can get them, you know, knocked out or incapacitated, I can, you know, and throw them into this other portal. I could seal that portal up, and I'm like, well, which is it? Are you completely powerless in the other world, or can you now seal up I don't know. It's whatever. But that's the plan. So their plan is to, you know, trap Scorpion and whatever undead army members he has, throw them into a portal, Raiden's gonna seal it up. So, they travel into Outworld, and, you know, we get multiple conversations, and that's when Sub-Zero kind of drops Scorpion's backstory, and why they are fighting. And it turns out, you know, in addition to all that stuff about Scorpion, his clan, the Shuri Ryu and Lin Kuei, which we don't get either of those by name in this, they're gonna have a fight, you know. We do get Shao Kahn and Motaro name dropped in this episode. We don't see them, but we get them name dropped. So when they're in Outworld, they're, you know, they're going to keep it quiet. We can't, you know, arouse suspicion that we're here because we don't want to anger Shao Kahn and his armies. And then, when they're trying to find out where the hell Scorpion could be going, they realize he's not going to take the souls of, the honorable dead. They're going to take them from the, dishonorable, the evil. And there's only one place in Outworld, I guess, they bury their dishonorable. And since Katana is a former citizen of Outworld, she, she's leading the way in this one. And she's like, to get there, we have to pass through Motaro's camps or whatever. And we can't, anger him or the Centaurian army or we're fucked. So that's kind of thing. We also get a brief conversation between Katana and Sub-Zero where, we know Katana is from Edenia, even though here they're saying she's from Outworld, but I guess that's after the merger. I don't know if they ever bring up Edenia in this animated series. I watched the whole thing once. I'm hazy on some of the details, so I'm watching it again. But anyways, but they're also alluding like Sub-Zero is not from Earthrealm. And it's like, yeah, he is. What the fuck? But here, they're like, oh no, Earthrealm's not your home either, It's like, but it is. But whatever. Beyond all that, so they're traveling. And then, of course, the army of the dead pop up again. This time they have more of a mummy look to them. But they're also wearing the same headdress thing. I don't know, because the first batch, the zombie-looking ones, skeleton zombies, they also had the same headdress, and they were from Earthrealm. And then these guys had the same headdress, and they're from Outworld. So I was like, I don't know, I guess all dishonorable warriors from this time period had the same helmet, I guess. But whatever, they see, they got their eyes set on Scorpion. It turns out he's going to this one tomb. And who's the most evil, dishonorable person from Outworld? Shang Tsung. And they realize, holy crap, he's going to raise him from the dead, force him to join his army, then he'll be unstoppable. And I'm like, again, this is a really cool storyline. I just don't like that Scorpion's the one leading the charge here. Almost anybody else I've been okay with except Scorpion. But whatever. So, at this point, more Army of the Dead pop up, and we get a big fight. I noticed this happened in the last episode, too, and I didn't mention it, but I noticed it a second time, so now I gotta say something. It seems like they split them in half, the fighters, each time, but it seems like they keep the martial artists on one side and the cops on the other. It seems like Stryker, Jax, and Sonya are always fighting in one group, and then Liu Kang, Katana, and Sub-Zero are always fighting the other. Just something I noticed. I don't know. Maybe they'll break it up and mix it up a little bit as we go on. I'm sure they will, but first two episodes seem like that's the pairing each time. So anyways, as the cops are fighting the undead army, Katana, Liu, and Sub-Zero, they make it through, but they get attacked by more mummies. Of course, Sub-Zero is like, I gotta stop Scorpion. He goes after Scorpion. Liu Kang's trying to tell him, like, listen, you can't just attack him with anger. You gotta use your brain on this one. And of course, Sub-Zero ignores and goes right up after him. Liu Kang looks at Katana like, can you handle yourself? But she's already kicking everyone's ass, so she's like, certainly, go get him. So Liu Kang follows Sub-Zero. So as Scorpion is getting close to the tomb, behind him Sub-Zero, they have a quick fight. Scorpion beats his ass and just like sends him down the flight of stairs, the stone temple pyramid stairs. Boom, boom, boom. And so Liu Kang catches up to him and he's just like, I told you couldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And then they have their own little moment. And of course Liu Kang is like, I never felt like I was worthy enough, as a fighter now. Like everyone kept saying, I'm this great Mortal Kombat champion, but I wonder, if I didn't have the help of Katana, could I have beat your brother? And Sub-Zero is like, you know what, I thought the same thing myself. And I realized, no, you had it in you all along. Of course you could have beat him. I think you're just a better warrior than he ever was. And of course the fact that he was, fought with dishonor, blah, 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 you would have won. So this gives Liu Kang confidence to go up there to fight Scorpion. Have a good little fight. Scorpion. All I kept bugging about Scorpion, aside from his crappy voice, and the fact that he's trying to lead an undead army for some reason, was, he does have the teleport punch at this point. He can jump back and then come behind you and block you, or, punch you in the back of the head. But that's the extent of it. He can teleport, fine. I'll give him that. But, like, here, he's going full on invisible. And I'm like, that's reptile territory. What are you doing here? What are we doing here? But whatever, he goes invisible. And then at one point, he even, he has his chain come out of his arm. Usually it's a rope and a spear. And then even in the movie, it's like a rope-ish tentacle that has the little snapper thing at the end of it, instead of the blade like in the games. Here, it's a gold chain. He upgraded, I guess. And then on the head of it, it's like a little reptile head. Like a little, I don't know, like a little velociraptor. I thought maybe a dragon, but I don't think it was a dragon. It made a weird noise. Either way, it's a little reptile head on the end of it. And of course, he's fighting Liu Kang with that and everything. Of course, Liu Kang will overcome. kick his ass, knock him out, and then Sub-Zero gets back in there and he's gonna kill him. Sub-Zero's gonna pick him up and like launch him off this, pyramid. But Liu Kang's like, hey, if you do this, you're no better than your brother, fight with honor. And so they take him to the portal, dump him in, Raiden shows up, seals it up. Hey, we should all take a vacation. We should have a break. We should go do something. Go to the amusement park. Whatever. Let's go have some fun. But the little radio thing goes off and Liu Kang's like, whoa, hold that thought. And then, of course, it's Nightwolf to tell him, hey, there's been another rip in the realms. And they're like, well, Mortal Kombat continues, and then they go off. So that was episode 2, Sting of the Scorpion. Again, I like it. I mean, it picked up where the first one left off. It is more the same. But again, I'm looking at it, this is made for kids. And I'm looking at 10-year-old Netherrealm Nobody. He would have loved it. I would have loved this as a kid. It spoke to me. They have fighter jets that turn into submarines. That's ridiculous. Unless you're James Bond. But not these guys. They're kicking ass. They introduce Scorpion. It feels like, they keep expanding the mythology the same. Again, we got all these characters. And they're not doing the Annihilation thing of just introducing everybody to kill them off. It's like, no, we're putting them on back burners. You're hearing names, not seeing them yet. I don't know. I dig it. I really wish I could have watched this as a kid. I think I would have loved it even more then. And then my fandom for it would be even greater now. But as it is, like, just now watching it. Either way, though, I'm giving this all a thumbs up. It's a good follow-up. The only, I guess, cons I have with this is, again, I don't like Scorpion's portrayal. I don't like the fact that he's trying to raise this army of the undead. I get that his cool storyline hasn't been cemented yet in the games, because it's not until Mythology / Part 4 that we realized that Quan Chi was kind of pulling the strings on both Sub-Zero and Scorpion. So, we don't have that. So I get that. But at the same time, it's like, you guys could have just left Scorpion silent and mysterious, and you would have got more out of it. And you could have had anybody else in this role of raising the undead or whatever, but whatever, it is what it is. So, and then I guess the other thing, I was just kind of like, again, it's made for kids, so I'll give it the pass, but the bickering with Jax and Sonya against Raiden, it was pretty cheesy and corny, I'm not going to lie, but it is what it is. They're developing their personalities, I guess, so we'll go with it, I guess. But yeah, that's really my only complaints, though. Overall, I'm still giving it a thumbs up. Next week, we hit episode 3. So guys, if you've seen this episode, if you've seen the series, let me know what you thought about it. Comment section down below. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm Episode 3 Acid Tongue Review. My God, these titles, let me tell you. Alrighty, so, Acid Tongue. In this one, we get Reptile. Sort of. And his army, and they end up kidnapping Sonya. And so Jax has to go try to save her. But while that's going on, Shiva and her army. I love that everybody has an army. Like every single villain has an army underneath them. It's great. But Shiva and her army are coming over. So, the defenders got to defend against that. So that's the basic premise plot of this episode. Alrighty, so we left off last time with another alert, and this time it winds up being, and I forget the name of the race, but they're the reptilian race that Reptile belongs to. So in the games, we were always told that Reptile was the last of his kind. And so, turns out, apparently not, there's a whole other group of them. It's weird because right off the bat, they're like, who's that? And it's like, okay, you guys are following the events of the movie, Part 1, which Reptile was in that, and yet Liu Kang's acting like, who's this guy? And you're also following the games, like, we're following the events of Part 3, and Reptile was in Part 2, which means you've already seen him. They knew who Baraka was, so it's like, the fact that they are like, oh, wow, who are these guys? It's like, do you not know? Now, it is funny that the entire race is just green ninjas, like every one of them is wearing the same getup. However, they don't mention it by Reptile. In fact, they even kind of act like they even say, like, I thought Reptile's race was extinct. Maybe I misheard. Maybe he said this reptile race is extinct. I don't know. But the main villain, his name is like Coma Guy, which sounds like Coma Guy. I don't know. But Coma Guy. But they go back and forth on his name throughout the episode. They will call him Reptile and Coma Guy off and on. So, again, it's like, you could have just made it simple, just made this guy Reptile with a reptilian race, but they didn't. But I guess they tried to retcon it midway through the episode. I don't know. But anyways, we're introduced to these guys. And so as they're kind of running amok, everybody lands their jets, and we get the kung fu fighting. Again, my boy Stryker looking strong. I'm so happy that Stryker is doing good in this show. So, in this one, right off the bat, Reptile, they used the invisibility grate, which Scorpion ripped off in the last episode, but whatever, it's, properly used here. And we get the acid spit from Reptile. We get a lot of the moves, like Sonya does her little leg hurricanrana thing in this one as well. We see the trimmer, the bicycle kick. I mean, we get a few of the moves here. Stryker using his nightstick to beat some ass. Sub-Zero freezing motherfuckers. So, anyways, but during the acid spit, it hits Jax in the arm. Of course, he has those metal arms. Well, it's eating through the metal. And he ends up, for some reason, he takes, like, the chip out that has, like, everything he needs, the fucking thing, and he throws it, or he hides it behind a rock. I don't know why he did that, but then he's like, I can't find it later on. Beside the point. Either way, though, his robotic arms are now useless, but then Sonya helps him. But then he gets embarrassed. Like, this dude, he's acting like he can't get his dick up or something like that. He's just like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. I need my metal arms. I can't fight without my metal. And it's like, dude, you fought part 2 without your metal arms. You're fine. I know this cartoon is kind of on a different continuity level than the video game. But still, yeah, it's like, but, he's just like, I can't do it without it. And then, like, he gets mad at Sonya. Like, at one point, they're like, everybody's getting in jets ahead now, and there's another alert. There's another rift, something going on. Because what happens is when they end up beating the reptilian's ass, and when they throw Coma Guy, or when they throw the rest of them away, Coma Guy is going to go back in there. Stryker goes to seal it up, and it doesn't quite seal perfectly, and he's struggling with it. He don't know why. But he gets it sealed up, I guess, enough, and he's like, oh, I did it. Let's get out of here. As they leave, Coma Guy steps out of the rift. He's like, I'll get you guys. He uses the same kind of speech that Scorpion used. And it's like, they didn't even try to give him like a weird lisp or utilize the S's when he's talking. I remember in the comic book, they would use the S's a lot. Like, I'm going to strike, strike. The S's would be drawn out a little bit. Anyways, beyond all that, so they make him sound generic as hell. Whatever. We're kind of getting used to that with villains on this show. So, as they're leaving, the defenders, Jax is all embarrassed that he lost his metal arm. He's like, I'm going to ride with Stryker. So I'm thinking, okay, Sub-Zero is going to switch places with him, right? No, they go 3 deep in this fighter jet. Liu Kang and Katana go in theirs. So, like, Sonya's just by herself, and I'm like, wow, dick move. Like, really? So anyways, they end up going back to the thing, and Nightwolf can't fix it. He's like, unfortunately, that chip you had in your arm, that controls everything. And that's a specific chip, and we don't just have it on inventory. So unless you get that chip back, nothing we can do. Well, turns out Sonya Blade has gone back to that island to find that chip for him. Because she's in this one, she's actually decent. She's not just a straight-up cunt like she has been in the last few episodes. Like, now, she's back, she's friendlier. She says combat time again, she's in her element. And of course Jax is like, alright, great, find it. Well, it turns out she does find it, but, boom, she gets ambushed by Coma Guy. Why Coma Guy didn't have the rest of the reptilians on his side, I don't know, but he doesn't. I guess the rift was just kind of open enough for him to get through. But while this is going on, we find out, holy shit, there's a rift over here, and it turns out it's Shiva and Shokan's coming through. And so they're like, okay, Jax, you need to go get Sonya, make sure she's okay. Kind of weird they didn't send him a second person. They're like, go take care of it yourself. And the whole time, he's like very open about how I don't want to go because I don't have my metal arms. Like, he whines so much in this episode. Like, it was getting annoying, actually. It was getting really bad. I was like, dude, quit your bitching. Just fucking go, you know. Your friend, your partner, the person you initially risked your life to travel to the Outworld to rescue is now in trouble again. And you're just like, I need my metal arms. I don't know. It was a bit annoying. But he goes. Nightwolf offers to go with the rest of the defenders, but they turn him down and say, listen, Raiden's like, no, listen, you need to stay here in case someone tries to come after our base. So then they're like, well, Raiden, you're going to have to get your hands dirty and join us here. So anyways, the defenders go off to face off with Shiva and them. I'll split the story up into 2 different places here now, just to kind of whatever, to get, make it simple instead of just bouncing back and forth. Because it does, it goes back and forth between both. Sorry, it's wintertime and I get itchy, even down here in the Netherrealm. So, Jax makes it to the thing, and of course, it turns out Sonya has been kidnapped. He finds her little wrist communicator thingy, and he's feeling bad. He's like, oh my god, she got kidnapped because of me. So, Nightwolf's trying to talk him up, like, hey man, it's all, the power's in here. It wasn't in your metal arms. Which I'm starting to debate now, because honestly, the first thing he does is there's a door that leads to this castle, and it's an abandoned castle, but he's just like, they're up there. Why he's assuming that, I don't know. I would assume that we would have took her back to where the hell the reptilians came from, but whatever. So he tries to use the door. It's locked. He uses a giant boulder. He can't smash it. So it's like, yeah, those metal arms actually was their power. Like, you ain't got dick without them. So anyways, he ends up going back and scaling the cliff to get up to the top of the mountain to this abandoned castle. He gets up there, him and I'm just going to call him Reptile. I know he's Kama guy, technically, but him and Reptile has fight, and, for the most part, it's just Reptile spitting acid as he tries to avoid it. At one point, the whole time, Sonya's, like, backseat driving. She's like, use your brains, quit trying to use your muscles. And Reptile spits on a rock, and he uses the acid to, like, melt the cuffs that Sonya's attached to, which, it's like, it works, but sometimes, like, it's melting the metal, where you're not afraid it's going to drip on her skin. I don't know. But she does break free. They end up beating up Kama guy, and then they end up sending him back through the portal and getting rid of him or whatever. No, they don't. Not yet. I forgot. They kidnap him. So, they beat him up, and they tie him up and take him with him. I forgot about that. Sorry. So, we cut back to Liu Kang, Katana, Stryker, and Sub-Zero. They're fighting Shiva and the Shokans. They're in, like, this underground mine. And so, as they're fighting, Raiden shows up to help. And for the whole time, they're like, why don't you just blast these motherfuckers? And Raiden's like, I can't because this mine's going to collapse at any moment, and there's like all these barrels of explosives around. So he has to fight hand to hand like a mere mortal as well. The Shokans proved to be a lot more difficult. They end up, for the most part, kicking ass. Now, early on, they're able to kind of defend themselves against a few and throw them back into a portal, but for the most part, Shiva and her team are doing pretty good. However, once the structure of the mine is about to collapse, Shiva retreats her men. Which is kind of cool that, with the Tarkatans, or Nomads, and Reptile, and the other reptiles, and the cybernetic ninjas from the Lin Kuei, like, and even the undead army of Scorpion, like, every one of those guys just look a carbon copy of each other. Like, there was no difference. But here, the Shokans are shown to be very different. Like, there was no 2 Shokans that looked alike. You had one dude that had an eye patch, you had one dude that had, like, a Fu Manchu, you had a dude who's in a white outfit. Some had gladiator helmets on. I mean, they were very distinct amongst themselves. And I like that attention to detail. It's kind of cool that there weren't just a bunch of generic Shokans showing up. So that was kind of cool. Anyways, so Shiva and her group retreat. And then just as Jax and Sonya are showing up, the mines collapse. And they're just like, holy crap. Are they dead? But turns out, nope, our defenders walk out, Raiden teleports out, and yeah, they're safe. And then, of course, they ends up throwing him the reptile, and then, of course, Raiden disposes of him in a portal, sending him back to wherever, or off to whatever dimension. And that's how we end the episode. With, I forgot, Jax does get his metal arms back. But he's like, listen, this is my strength, but I can still use my intelligence as well. Which is like, yeah, you probably need to, because you couldn't open a door. Probably need your metal arms. So, episode 3, Acid Tongue, is probably my least favorite in the series so far. And it wasn't like the storyline wasn't bad. I enjoyed seeing, even though the whole Reptile debacle was kind of weird, just use Reptile. Quit trying to shoehorn other characters or whatever into this. And quit shoehorning them in there and then refer to him as Reptile anyway. Like, Reptile's not a name that should be interchangeable. You know, Reptile is one guy. So, I don't know. But it was cool seeing the Shokans. I like seeing Shiva, who looks very dominant. I feel like Shiva never gets that respect. Like, she's in part 3, and then she's gone until, like, Armageddon, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, that's very unfair. Now, beyond that, I don't know. Maybe they brought her back and showed her the proper respect, but she always kind of got crapped on. She was considered the jobber of the Shokans, in my opinion. And here, she seems very all-powerful. And her army did, too. They weren't just, like, the putty warriors from, like, you know, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. No, like, they were like an entire group of badasses that gave our defenders a run for their money. Very solid. For me, I think the reason why this episode is kind of lacking is mainly because the A-plot is all about Jax whining about his arms. And I was just sick of hearing him cry. Like, he was just moping. And it's like, dude, you're a chosen one. Like, Stryker's the guy who has no abilities. He should be the one moping that he didn't have dick. Like, you still have strength and, like, army level training. Like, Stryker's just a beat cop from, like, New York. He ain't got shit going on. You are special forces. And yet, he whines the entire episode. And that really brought it down for me. But beyond that, I don't know. Still a decent story. Still not bad. I'm just saying this is probably my least favorite episode thus far. But anyways, that was Acid Tongue. You know, as always, guys, let me know what you guys think of these individual episodes. I feel like people will always kind of review this in, you know, short form. Like, they kind of just discuss the entire episode or the entire season and break out key points. You don't get too many people going episode by episode. I'm not saying they don't. There's a few out there that do, but for the most part, when I did my research, it's just very few people are actually taking the time to watch episode by episode. So I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Am I wrong for the reptile thing? I don't know. Either way, guys, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 4, Skin Deep, review. Alrighty, so this time around, Shao Kahn and his army plan on going into a different realm, and they're going to steal some kind of a weapon. Simu-Tron, Simu-Tac, Simu-something, Simu-Terror. I don't know. But it's in the, what do I call it, like, Zop? The Zop realm? I never heard it before, but that's where that's where Shao Kahn, that's where the rift's at. And anyways, Rain shows up to prevent them, to warn them, like, hey, Shao Kahn's doing this. But whose side is he really on? Alrighty, so we kick things off. We actually kick things off. This is the first episode that's kind of standalone. The other three were kind of connected, and every time it ended, it went to the next one. So this one's finally, it's by itself. We get Liu Kang and Jax. They're training in their cave. Liu Kang's training in front of a mirror, but Jax is just punching like a pillar in the cave. And at one point, when he punches it, you can see there's going to be a collapse, and a piece like a stalactite falls, almost hits Liu Kang, and he just jokingly like, "Hey man, easy, I don't want to be a shish kebab." And Jack's like, what are you worried about? And it's just like, okay, Dick, you're going to literally collapse this on everybody, including yourself. And he doesn't stop. He even continues punching it, even after they, talk it out. I don't know. It was very odd. Jax is becoming one of my least favorite characters right now. Like, from last week's whining to this week being stupid, I don't know. Anyways, but Liu Kang, he does mention during his exchange that, because, he's like, hey, why do you care? You're immortal. And it turns out he's not really immortal, but he is ageless. And he will no longer age because he is the winner of the Mortal Kombat tournament. And due to those rules, whoever wins the tournament can't really age until the next tournament, because that way the fighter, the winner, can keep defending that thing. And I never really thought about that, and it makes sense, because I want to say in one of the comics or cartoons, or sorry, shit, in one of the video games, they do kind of mention that, your life is expanded because of, winning the tournament. But it makes sense, because, like, if you did win a tournament, and it's like every 50 years or so, dude, you'd be fucking old and decrepit by the time that second tournament rolls around. You know what I mean? Like, if you had to win at, like, age 30 or whatever, it's like, oh, shit, I'm 80, and I got to defend the Earth Realm. So, makes sense, and I do like that little add to it. I think it's kind of a neat little, thing to it. So, Liu Kang is a flashback, because as soon as he brings up Angels, he thinks of the old, champion, Shang Tsung, which he wasn't really a champion. It was really more Goro, I guess, but it brings back that, memory of him defeating Shang Tsung, which, again, took place at the end of the movie Part 1, and they play it out the same way, except instead of spikes, Shang Tsung just lands flat on the concrete below, and then he just shrinks to a skeleton, and then that's the end of it. He is supporting his Mortal Kombat 3 look, though, in this, which makes sense, because that's the last Mortal Kombat game that's out while this cartoon's running. So it makes sense they're using that, so it's not completely movie accurate, but, it is what it is. So anyways, Liu Kang knocks him out right there, and then he comes back to the present. Turns out, hey, we got a rift. There's another rift, so they all convene into Nightwolf's command center. Turns out it's in New Guinea, and this one don't look like an ordinary rift that he's used to. So they all head out. Thought it was kind of interesting when they head out, they each jump into the jets. And, at this point, it's been Liu Kang Katana, which it still is. Except this time, Katana's flying instead of Liu Kang. And then it's usually Sonya and Jax. And I think usually Jax flying, and then Stryker flying with Sub-Zero. But here, Jax, he jumps in there with Sub-Zero, and Sonya gets in with Stryker. So it's kind of neat that they're mixing it up a little bit, I guess. We're swapping partners. Dirty entendre intended. Anyways, so we get that. They fly off. We get a little scene with Katana and Liu Kang, because she's like, hey, what's wrong? And he realizes, like, I hate the idea of growing old. Or not growing old. Being immortal. And the obvious answer is what I thought he was going to say, because Katana even says, like, well, because you don't want to outlive all your friends and family. He's like, oh, no, not that at all. It's more that I just don't want to keep fighting, because apparently if the Outworld keeps breaking the rules, the tournament never takes place. So if he's ageless until the next tournament, but that tournament never happens, then essentially he'll, and that's when it's revealed that, that they're not immortal, they could still die, but just, they just don't grow old. And Katana is kind of in the same realm, because, I guess Edenia I guess she's just older than she should be. She's 10,000 years old, but looks, whatever. But, they kind of share this moment where it's like, okay, well, at least we have this together. And I guess if I can't, die and grow old, at least I'm, staying ageless with you. And so they kind of have a little bit of a, we're definitely past the flirtatious stage. Like, it's now like, yeah, they hooked up. It's clear at this point. So, we get to New Guinea, and they instantly just split up, and Liu Kang finds, like, this little, I don't know, cave, like a skull cave, with, like, skulls around it. Like, the obvious way, like, he saw a sky beam, which predates, Marvel movies by, a decade or so, but we see the sky beam, he follows it, giant cave mouth, teeth, fucking giant rocks, jack-o'-lantern, I don't know what you want to call it, but like I said, surrounded by, skulls, and you're just like, obvious, this is it. But then, bam! Rain pops out. And we get unmasked Rain. Even at this point, I think he was always masked in the games, because it would have been, when did he show up? Was it Ultimate 3 or was it Trilogy? I don't remember. But either way, I believe he was masked in both of those, so I don't know. They left him unmasked here, but him and Liu Kang kind of throw down for a second until Katana shows up. And it turns out, oh no, they know each other. They were formerly engaged in their younger days, which would have been thousands of years ago, I guess. But either way, and so that kind of changes the whole thing, and then of course the others show up. And that's when Rain drops that, hey, Shao Kahn is planning on, having his army go into Zop, that's what it was, Zop. Not wet ass pussy, sorry. Zap. Goes into Zop and is trying to steal that STEMU whatever. And apparently with that, he can just dominate every realm. And so Liu Kang's like, well, wait a minute. Well, how do you know about this? And it turns out he's like, well, no, I'm part of a resistance group who still, is in Outworld. And we operate and we're trying to, piece by piece take down this new emperor. Because we pledge allegiance to Katana's father. So Katana's just like, yes, and I know him from my past and blah, blah, blah. And so Liu Kang's instantly just like, oh, we shouldn't go back. We shouldn't, follow into, Zop. We need to go back to Earthrealm. And so Raiden shows up and kind of gives them that ultimatum, like, guys, what are you going to do here? And of course, it turns out everyone looks at Katana and they're like, do you trust this guy? And of course, she's like, yep, I trust him. And so Raiden fucks off, heads back. And so they continue their journey looking, I guess, for this weapon. Well, they get to a certain point, and they decide to split up. And right off the bat, our cops stay together like they always do. Sonya, Jax, and Stryker. But this time, when Katana and Lou's about to leave, Rain is like, well, actually, me and Katana work better as a team. I'm like, this cock-blocking motherfucker. Like, you know what you're doing, motherfucker. But what's Katana going to say? Of course, she's like, I need to talk to him anyways. We got some unresolved issues. And she goes. And of course, Liu Kang is visibly crushed. Sub-Zero kind of swoops in, like, hey, buddy, we'll go together. And they head off. It's short-lived, though. There's no communication between everybody. Except for Stryker. He does kind of show a little more empathy. Because Jax is like, oh, man, you see that? And Stryker's like, hey, leave him alone, man. He's hurting. And he just walks off. So, before anything goes down, before a search can get underway, these monsters come up from underneath. They're like big horn monsters. Look like a bunch of clay faces with horns. And so we get in a big fight, and everyone's fighting them and everything. Our defenders take them down pretty easily. Everyone's using their weapons, everyone's using their powers and everything. And then, at this point, they all, like, you see a big flash, and there's a portal. And they're all heading towards this portal. I'm assuming this portal's going to Outworld, but whatever. Apparently not. But they're heading into this portal, and then Rain throws a smoke bomb at the entrance. Smoke goes off. And then Rain grabs Katana and forces her into the portal, and then the portal shuts down. And now they're trapped there. And so they're like, oh crap, shit, we just got, bamboozled here. Now I'm thinking that portal had to have led to, like, Outworld. Or somewhere else, but not there on Zop. So Raiden shows up, and they're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I never left you guys. I can stay. And I'm like, dude, like, either you have powers outside of Earthrealm or you don't. Quit making portals in random places. But he shows up, and he's just like, I can give you guys a portal back home. And he goes, there's going to be an invasion, and it turns out Shao Kahn is on his way. But Liu Kang is still like, no. He's got Katana, I have to go rescue her. And Raiden kind of drops on, like, well, wait a minute. How do you not know she didn't just follow him willingly? Again, they have this history. She may be on his side. But Liu Kang's like, I have to know for sure. And it's funny, because I was like, dude, there is an invasion. Like, this was your whole arc in the first 2 games. Even the 3rd game, technically. You're all about saving Earthrealm. But, dude gets a little bit pussy, and he's all about it. He's just like, I love this woman. I'm going in there. And so, at this point, Stryker is like, I'm staying back. And the other ones are, like, agreeing, and I thought they were going to stay behind too, but they don't. They all end up, Sub-Zero, Jax, and Sonya end up going into the portal, leaving, going back to Earthrealm to help this fight. But Stryker stays back with Liu Kang. So Raiden's like, alright. And then he just kind of chuckles about something about love, and he heads back. And the whole time, they're just like, why don't you help us fight for a change? And he doesn't respond. He just, fucks off again. So, I'll split this up. I'll go with Earthrealm. So we get to Earthrealm. Turns out it is, the Cybernetic Warriors are back. Sans Sector or Cyrax this time. And so Sub-Zero, Jax, and Sonya are fighting them all off. And then, boom, out comes Raiden. Boom, just like a boss shows up. He's like, God's not supposed to do this. And it's like, dude, I don't know what your rules or regulations are anymore. You just kind of do what you want to do. But they're fighting. And eventually he's using his lightning bolt and everything else. And Jax is getting smart with him, like throw a little sass and gets sucker punched along the way. Kind of a little funny moment. But that's pretty much it. And eventually they do kind of repel the attack. Now we cut back to Zop. Now here's where I was kind of confused, because again, we see them go into a portal. Why is... They're apparently just teleporting within Zop, I guess. But either way, like, Raiden doesn't even try to, like, hey, do you need help going somewhere? Kind of make another portal for you. Maybe you can't do portals between other realms, only Earthrealm. I don't know. But Striker's like, where are we going to look? And he's like, well, Katana left her fan here. It's pointing that way. And there's, of course, way, way in the distance, there's a castle on top of a cliff. And I'm thinking, okay, but you saw them go into a portal. That fan was just dropped, whatever. Like, again, I don't know. They're teleporting more than they are just portaling, I guess. But it's just like, he's already assuming they're still here. And I guess I'm just thinking, why would you think that? But either way, they start marching forward. And they start climbing. They scale this wall. And then they got nothing. And this wall is like fucking vertical. And it's not really even grips. Like last time, when Jack scaled the wall, they were showing like there was like these little ledges he can kind of put his hand on as he's climbing up. Dude, these guys ain't got nothing. Just Stryker and Liu Kang climbing up. So anyways, we get this really, it's cheesy. I love it, but it's cheesy. We get Liu Kang going like, Stryker, why did you stay behind and help me? And he's like, oh yeah. I was like, well, yeah, something kind of happened to me long ago. And he gets all serious, but he gets like cheesy serious. Like, like on South Park, when they like show real cop drama and the cops are like, bantering back and forth, and it's just like, well, who gave you permission to sleep with my wife, That's what this felt like. It felt very ridiculously serious, but they get up on a ledge, take a break from searching for Katana, and he's just like, I had a girlfriend once, and, I was always out in my riot gear with my riot squad, and I was defending, my city, and she got tired of that, and she left me, found someone else. And if you ever tell anybody I told you about this, I'll use this baton and crack you in the head with it. And Liu Kang's like, agreed. Just two bros, insecure, just sad, puppy love, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, that stuck with Stryker. And I'm all for giving Stryker some storylines, but this felt a bit ridiculous, because it's just like, goddamn, dude. Girlfriend left you. This was before. It wasn't like, I had a girl who was killed by the extermination squad, or her soul was taken, or what. No, just, yeah, she broke up with me. I like my job more, and now I regret it, and that's why I'm risking my life to help you, and ignoring this, again, this invasion on Earthrealm right now. Let's go get your girlfriend. Whatever. So anyways, they get into the castle, they end up hitting a button, and there's like a big alarm or whatever, and when they scale the top, Mataro and the other centaurs are there, and they have their fight. Mataro never really gets any strikes in. He's whipping around. They're kind of dodging and shit. And then eventually, they end up blowing up the side of like the balcony, and then like just kind of using their momentum against them and tossing Mataro and another centaur off. The centaurs had like different shaped horns. Like I thought initially Mataro was the only one that had his horn going back, and everyone else had them going forward. But there were other centaurs that also had them going back as well. So it's just kind of a mixed bag on the horns. One centaur had a vest. Thought that was kind of cool. I didn't get a good look to check out. The battle's pretty quick, so I didn't get a chance to try to differentiate like I did with the Shokans. But anyways, again, I like the attention to detail to try to differentiate the different, centaurs. But they throw Mataro and another centaur off the cliff, and they're like, well, with Mataro out of the way, Stryker, this is what Stryker's saying. He's like, with him out of the way, I can take care of the rest. I'm like, they just kill Mataro? And very nonchalant about it? I don't know. And I don't remember enough of the series to know if he comes back again later in the show. So I don't know. But as of right now, Mataro went off a goddamn cliff. Off the top of the, it's a castle on top of a cliff. So he went off both. He's got to be dead, right? I don't know. Anyway, so Stryker ends up, having the other centaurs chase him. There's already a couple that have been knocked out. And so Liu Kang just enters the castle. And of course, he finds another fan out, and he follows. Again, like the first one I kind of get was like, really? Didn't she just drop that shit as she's being? I don't know. I don't get how this portal thing even worked initially, because it didn't go far. It didn't travel far when he finds that first fan, like indicating the fan was dropped behind or dropped in battle with the giant rock clayface creature things. So I don't know why that was a clue, but it was. And then here, she drops it again, but it's like, how is Rain and the others not seeing you do this? But whatever. He follows it, and there's a little fountain with water coming, like a dragon mouth with water coming out of it. And he uses his fire, I guess, to dry the water up, which I don't think that's how fire works. And I'm like, it's just water. It's not a lot coming out. You could have crawled through that. I guess he didn't want to get wet. I don't know. But he goes in there and just a labyrinth until he gets to, there's a Katana, and she's chained up. It looks like she's almost in the soul chamber, but it's not turned on. So it's just like an empty skull mouth thing in the background. But as soon as he gets there, all these other like insect type monsters pop up. We're getting a lot of unique monsters in this one. And they all pop up, but they all like form together. So like they're one big insect creature with like 7 heads. And throwing Liu Kang around, it shoots like poison at him, but Liu Kang eventually takes him out. And then unhooks her, and, you know, he's like, I want to know one thing. She's like, hey, I would never leave you. Motherfucker's still insecure. Like, even after her ex-boyfriend screws her over, he's still kind of like, I want to hear it from you. Like, I'm better than this guy. So anyways, Stryker shows up. And Stryker shows up. And he's like, guys, you know, gotta get out of here. And at this point, they bump into Rain. And so Liu Kang's going to beat his ass. But Katana's like, no. I got him. And so Katana and Rain have their fight. And of course, it's revealed that Rain, he's just a starfucker. Like, he just aligns himself with whoever has power. And that was the only reason he was with Katana, because she was originally the princess of Edenia. Or I guess maybe Outworld. I'm not sure. They haven't mentioned Edenia yet. I think it just keeps saying Outworld. But either way, she was princess. I'm talking about, you know, video game. The cartoon. I know in the video game she's from Edenia, but here in the cartoon it seems like they haven't mentioned Edenia yet. It's just been Outworld. But either way, he's like, I was only with you because you're the princess, but now the new emperor has given me a lot of power, and I work for him now. So that's his whole thing now. And so him and Katana fight. She kind of gets the upper hand, but he ends up like throwing stuff at her, and she's ducking, and it keeps hitting this pillar, and then finally the castle's gonna collapse. And so he's like, we'll meet again. He does the G.I. Joe Dr. Claw, next time. And he runs and jumps into like a fountain, and I guess it disappears. I'm not sure if that fountain actually went somewhere. There's a portal. Again, his powers are unclear at this point. He didn't do anything special. He has no rain powers in this one, so just regular ninja, I guess. So anyways, Katana and Liu Kang and Stryker are just like, well, how are we going to get out of here? And as they run to like the entrance that caves in on them, they're like, oh, we're screwed. And then Raiden just comes out of nowhere, Ex Machina style, and he's like, hey, you guys looking for a way out? And so at that point, Katana and like Liu Kang like have another moment, and they're just like, I guess, even though we're ageless, we're still mortal, and I'm sorry my jealousy got in the way. She's like, hey, it's okay, because we're mortal, and I'm just glad I can grow old with you. And Raiden's like, guys, the place is coming down. Like, I'm doing this myself, sitting on the couch watching this, like, guys, we can have this moment later. The place is falling apart around you. But Raiden jumped there and was like, guys, let's go. And so they all enter the portal. He teleports. And then we cut to an exterior shot of the castle crumbling. And that's it. That's how we end the episode. I liked it. Again, I was really confused about that whole portal situation and this world called Zop. We could have just set this all in the Outworld and just been done with it. Could have got through all the confusing shit. Could have just had a weird, I don't know. Could have done a better way of having him escape instead of having this portal that just takes you further into, I don't know. Maybe I'm hung up on the portal and I'm sorry about that. But, action-wise, still good. I like seeing these different creatures and the defenders fight against them. As cheesy as it was, I still liked a little bit of character development with my Stryker, so that was alright, even though it's kind of lame sauce. Poor Stryker. We furthered the relationship with Katana and Liu Kang. And we're showing how vast Khan's army is and that they are all connected. And we're introducing all the characters. Again, I don't like that Mataro was just kind of unceremoniously thrown off the side of a cliff. You could have knocked him out and threw 2 other centaurs off the cliff and be like, hey, I got rid of those guys, and Mataro's incapacitated. I'll take it from here, but they didn't. They felt the need to throw Mataro off the goddamn cliff. I didn't like that. But anyways, besides all that, I'd say it's a solid episode. Again, I wouldn't plan on ranking these, but if I had to go, I think I like it 1, 2, 4, and 3 so far. 3 my least favorite because Jack just whines the entire time, but this wasn't bad. I like this episode. That was a good episode. Cheesiness aside and confusion aside, still a solid episode. So there you have it, guys. That was episode 4, Skin Deep. Let me know what you guys think of these. I mean, let me know hopefully on each individual episode you can tell me what you thought about that episode. But if you just want to tell me overall, here's what I thought about the TV series in general, drop it down below. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching, and till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 5, Old Friends Never Die, Review. Alrighty, so Episode 5, we kick things off. It's basically the overall storyline of this episode is Smoke is coming after Sub-Zero. But they're old friends. And are they really going to fight? We'll find out. Alright, so we kick things off back at the base. The Defenders base, I guess you call it. I don't know what you call that area. But anyways, Stryker, he's going through some kind of obstacle course, like they're shooting like laser clay pigeon things, and he's got a little blaster. And animation's a little rough on this one. Like you see him like running over, they're like in a cave, and there's lava, and there's like stones in the lava, and he's supposed to be jumping on the stones, but animation ain't quite there, so it's just him running, doing little hops. But they're just doing like a treadmill looking thing, like cheap animation. So you see his foot clearly, like, just hovering above the... I don't know. Anyways, but, he does good. 9 out of 10, they said. And, Jackson's there to congratulate him. However, Sub-Zero is like, hey, wait a minute. You should be able to get 10 out of 10. So he decides he's going to do it blindfolded. And he uses his ice powers to do it. And he gets 10 out of 10, even though he shoots, like, 3 things. And then the robotic voice is like, 10 out of 10. Anyway, they make a bet, and of course the bet's going to be that the winner can decide, what the prize will be. And so that's basically how we kick things off. However, there's another portal tear. And, they end up checking it out, and they see all the smoke near the portal. And everybody's kind of confused, except for one guy. Oh, Sub-Zero. He knows something's up. He knows it's not good. And so he tells them the story, and basically we get the Cybernetic Initiative. We get the backstory about how, him and Smoke were best of friends, trained together, came up together, all that stuff. And then we even get to see a pre-cyborg Cyrax and Sector as well. However, they make the pact, they're not going to partake in this, and they would never fight each other. Well, of course, the, order comes down from the Grandmaster that, hey, you guys are all going to be switching over to this cybernetic whatever. And, Sector and Cyrax are all about it, but Smoke and Sub-Zero are like, fuck this. And so they decide to escape. Well, of course, the leader of the group, it's a guy named, Honiro? Honiro? Is that how they... I swear I kept hearing different pronunciations throughout the episode. And then I looked up on IMDb before I did this episode, and it's like, I think it's Honiro. We'll call him Honiro. We'll call him Grandmaster. How about that? Anyway, so the Grandmaster's coming after him. And, he ends up putting a pretty fight. His power is, the Grandmaster, he can shapeshift. So, like, he turns into like a panther at one point, and then an eagle, or a giant bird. I don't think it's an eagle. But he turns into a giant bird and comes after him. And so, anyways, Sub-Zero's like, hey, we can get out of here. But Smoke decides to stay back, and of course Sub-Zero makes the choice to, well, you're going to stay. Dude, I'm saying we got to get out of here, and he leaves. And of course, the last thing he hears is him yelling for help, and of course Smoke was taken and turned into a cyborg, and that's what we're seeing now is Cyborg Smoke. So, as Raiden comes down, and, Sub-Zero feels that even though he is a cyborg, there's still some humanity left inside of him, and he wants to connect with that. Raiden's a little skeptical, but he's just like, whatever. And so Sub-Zero's like, I can do this alone. And he ends up heading out that way. So, we get Sub-Zero trekking through this temple. It's almost like you're watching mythologies. He's just kind of walking through tunnels and sewers and whatnot, scaling high, dangerous altitudes and whatnot. Anyways, he eventually reaches Smoke. And then, turns out Smoke's like, nope, I will take you down. And then, of course, a portal opens up, and out comes Honiro, and or the Grandmaster and Sector, Cyrax, and like more cybernetic ninjas. And it's like, oh wow, you're outnumbered. However, out come the defenders, because guess what? You don't leave your friends hanging no matter what. And so we get some cool sequences of defenders whipping some cybernetic ass. Sub-Zero goes after Oniro and has him on the run, so he's chasing after him, and of course Smoke is also with Oniro. And so as Sub-Zero bolts and everything, turns out once they realize Oniro's gone, Sector and Cyrax is like, yep, we're done, we're out of here, and them and some of the cybernetic ninjas leave. There's still a handful left behind, so Cyrax, and they like Jackson, like Sonya, and even Katana, like they're just like dispatching them, like they're killing these dudes, like they're breaking them and electrocuting them and shit. So it's like it's implied they're dead. They're killing these cybernetic warriors. So if there's a little bit of humanity left in any of these warriors, defenders are killing it for us. So anyway, so Raiden shows up and he's just like, what we gotta do now? They're like, do you think that Sub-Zero's right? Blah blah blah. There's some humanity left in Smoke, and Raiden's like, I don't know. I love his answers. He's very much on par with the Raiden from the movie, where he's just kind of like, didn't have a clue. And of course, Sonya busts his balls on it. It's like, oh great, oh powerful, all-knowing one. So anyways, Sub-Zero confronts Smoke up on the mountaintop, and he keeps trying to tell him the whole time. He's just like, listen, there's got to be a party that remembers our oath. I'm not going to fight you. And of course, he's kind of, Smoke's still kind of coming after him, but not really fighting him just yet. However, Oniro pops back out, and he turns like a weird, like, dragon panther. That's how I can describe it. He's like almost like a xenomorph almost, like fire breathing. But he comes after Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero takes it at one point and has like an ankle lock on him, but then Oniro morphs out of it and comes back to it. So they end up having a bit of a fight. However, Smoke remembers, hey, no, we are friends actually. And so he ends up taking down Oniro together, and they end up knocking Oniro off a cliff. Before he goes, though, he grabs Smoke by the ankle, about to drag him down. Sub-Zero grabs him, and so he pulls him up. Oniro falls, but of course Oniro just turns into a bird and flies away. So anyways, Smoke and Sub-Zero kind of have their moment, and Smoke's like, listen, I remember, but you're still, an enemy of the Lin Kuei. Which is crazy. You just fought the dude. You're clearly no longer a part of the group. Like, you're not going back and joining. They're not going to just open their arms like, hey, get back in, Smoke. Like, you're done. Your, connection with the Lin Kuei is, finished. But either way, he's like, you're an enemy of the Lin Kuei, which means you're an enemy of mine. However, I will honor the oath. So he's not going to fight him. And so Smoke walks away, disappears into a puff of smoke. And then, of course, we get, Sub-Zero later on just kind of looking up into the sky, and you see a little swirl of smoke take off, because apparently smoke can teleport, I guess, disappear, turn to smoke, and fly, I guess. And so, yes, that's how we kind of end the episode. And then the rest of the defenders kind of show up, and they want to know, hey, Sub-Zero, what are you going to make, Stryker do, or what are you going to make him give you for winning the contest at the very beginning of the episode? And Sub-Zero decides, you know what, Stryker, I'm going to train you to be a ninja for 1 week. And of course, Stryker's like, can I just pay money and get out of it? Ha ha. Belly laughs all around, and we end the episode. So when I looked into this turns out this is actually like the episode that like even the haters love this episode. Like, this is considered like the episode of the series. And I gotta say, it's my favorite one so far. I don't want to keep ranking them. There's only 13 of these fuckers, and that's a lot of ranking to do. 5, 1, 2, 4, 3. Do with that what you will. Anyways, I really dug it. Again, I like that we get the individual backstory. We get Stryker, Cyrax, Sector, Smoke. Get the whole cybernetic, initiative storyline. Don't get the Grandmaster into it. Even though his name's weird and I can't remember. Oniro? It's Oniro, I think. Oniro. But yeah, we get him, in the mix. He's not dead. He's escaped. Cyrax and Sector escaped. So we still got a lot of our villains on the board here. So I'm loving that. No, I really dug this. This is a storyline that will get revisited a couple times in media. I know Mortal Kombat Legacy did a whole episode about Cyrax and Sector, the, Cybernetic Initiative. And I don't remember which one, but one of the animated Mortal Kombat Legends movie also covered it. Maybe Battle for the Realm? I can't remember. Or maybe it was Snowblind, because that was the one with Sub-Zero and Kenshi. I don't remember, but either way, I know one of them covered, all this and everything. So, yeah, I'm a big fan, giving it a big thumbs up. Again, if you guys see this episode, what do you think about this, particular episode? With Smoke showing up and Sub-Zero and all the other Lin Kuei. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I don't know what to say. I will say this, with Warner Brothers finally, being bought out by, Netflix, I'm hoping we get a lot more, just oversaturated Mortal Kombat content. I'm okay with that. I am tired of seeing Marvel and Star Wars and all this other garbage that I don't give a shit about. Let's start pumping it with garbage that I do like. And Mortal Kombat is that garbage. Give me multiple shows. Give me a kid-friendly cartoon. Give me the brutal, dark, R-rated, gory anime cartoon. Give me a live-action, cheesy TV show. I don't care. I'll take every bit of it and smile as I take it. So, anyways, that was Old Friends Never Die. Big thumbs up over here. And that's all I got. Until next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 6, Familiar Red, review. There's got probably be an easier way to say all that, but I haven't figured it out yet, and I'm already mid-show at this point, so we're going to keep going this route with it. Alright, so episode 6, this is Familiar Red, and the basic plot here is Kano has a new army, and he's coming after the Defenders. So, we kick things off with, we got Tarkatans, or sorry, Nomads, as they're called in this show. We're in the middle of a fight, lots of action, get bicycle kick and all kinds of cool stuff. And while they're fighting, there's another rift, and it's over in Egypt. And so, right off the bat, he's like, I need you guys to go, take care of this. They're like, hey, we're kind of busy with this. So they end up, breaking apart. And, I think it's, Liu Kang and Katana and Katana stays behind. No, she goes with him, yeah. Liu Kang, Katana, and I don't know, there's a couple others, but they end up flying out to, to Egypt or whatever. And before they get there, we see a rift, the portal open up, and we see a figure step through, and then you see Shao Kahn, and he hands this briefcase-looking thing over with a big red jewel button on top, and he literally, at first it seemed ridiculous. He's like, here, he goes, you know what to do with this, and then all the guy does is put it on the ground, right there where the rift was, and it just burrows itself down. I'm like, Khan, could you not have done that? But we do go underground, and inside the pyramid, you see this little briefcase thing that's now sprouted arms. He's digging his way through. A sliding door opens up, and Kano's down there. And we realize he was the one that, Shao Kahn sent into this world. So, our defenders get there in Egypt, and there's no sign of anybody. And right off the bat, they're getting shitty with Nightwolf, and they're like, "It's you! You screwed it up again." And it's this is the first time this has happened at all. And then a rift goes off. And this time it's in Tibet, and so they head out there, and granted, there's nothing there, but they're already getting super. Especially Sonya, running her mouth her and Stryker are the main two offenders, and they're just fucking running their mouth to Nightwolf. They're like, you screwed it up! Again, it's just this is the second time it's happened. And the first time, not all you guys were dragged out of there. Granted, yeah, you had to stay behind and fight the Nomads or whatever, but it's what do you want from this guy? You have been following these, rifts, and it's always been something. And then this, one time, it doesn't. And then you guys are like, what? And then you guys get all shit. It's what? I don't know. They get really shitty for no freaking reason, right? And then, right off the bat, he's like, well, you're running this ragged. It's yeah, but there's been armies invading the entire time. There's always a reason to go. But they're blaming Nightwolf like it's his fault. And it's like, you gotta go where the riffs are at. Like, I don't know. Again, I know it's a cartoon aimed at kids, but I'm using adult logic. I'm like, shut your mouth and do your goddamn job, you know? So anyways, they go to bed. There's nothing there. They're pissed off. Then it's, like Australia. Same thing. And so, at this point, Nightwolf's starting to doubt himself. And the whole time, you're seeing it's Kano is literally just making him run to these different places as he's, doing it. And so Nightwolf's starting to question himself. And he decides, at this point, he sends them all off. I think they go to Brazil, maybe? I don't remember. He sends them somewhere. But even Raiden, when he's talking to Raiden, he's like, am I losing it? And of course, Raiden's like, listen, you're getting too dependent on all this technology. You're a shaman. Use what's in here and up here. And so Nightwolf decides, hey, watch the command center. I'm going to go to Egypt, check it out myself. And he goes to Egypt, him and Kiva. And they end up digging up, like, this, I don't know what it was, like a little metal scrap thing that had the Black Dragon symbol. And it's like, why is that even there? Like, did it fall off the briefcase? Did Kano literally just bury it in the sand? Like, I'm marking this terror. Like, I don't know what it came off of, but he finds it. And so he goes back to, the base, and right off the bat, again, Stryker and Sonya just cunting it up, and they're just running his shit. And he goes, listen, I found something. And he holds up the Black Dragon thing, and Sonya instantly, gets all depressed. And we know why. Seems like every other episode I got an episode where my mask is fucking... There we go. Okay. So, Sonya's upset, and of course we get the backstory. And turns out she had a partner named Wexler. Anyways, old Wexy, he is her partner, and what happened is Sonya comes back, I guess getting donuts or whatever, and then, of course, the room's destroyed, and there's the Black Dragon symbol, and then basically there's a time bomb. Time's up, baby, is what it says. And she jumps out the window. She's yelling out, Wexler, if you're in here, get out. She jumps out. Explosion. And it turns out, and of course, Kano's there watching from the outside. Now, you should note that before she jumps out the window, there's a file. And you see Kano with hair, which was kind of like, from the movie. And I think he had hair in the first game. No, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was bald in the first game. He was bald in the first game, but they gave him hair in the movie, right? So, when she looks up, she sees Kano standing on the street. He's in his MK3 outfit, and he's bald. So, and I'm just bringing that up because, there's some continuity coming here for a second. So, anyway, he disappears. Of course, the cops show up, she's getting, treated. Because she went through the window, she goes onto the awning, but then she just, falls through the awning. So, it's like, she hit ground pretty hard. And, of course, she asks, what happened to Wexler, and, of course... The captain's dead. They're killing people. That's the game. Everyone keeps talking this kid's cartoon wasn't violent. We knew he had some fight scenes. Dude, the fight scene with the Tarkatans, the Nomads. Jax kills one. Dude throws a bear hug on one of the, Tarkatans and just squeezes. We hear bone snap, and then Tarkatans goes limp. He didn't pass out. Dude, that dude's dead. That's all there is to it. They killed him on this Saturday morning cartoon that everyone else is like, it wasn't violent enough. Eat a dick. Anyway, so Wexler's dead. I do like that we give him a name. He's always just, called a partner in the past. I know in the Mortal Kombat Malibu Comics comic, that they had some little excerpts in the actual introduction booklet or the instructional booklet for the first Mortal Kombat game. I want to say one of them was called Sparky. And maybe Brian or James or something like that. They had a regular name, but they did drop some of the Special Forces names in there. But of course, they wind up dead or whatever. And so, I don't know. I really wish they would have kind of brought back Sparky, I guess, would have been their partner instead of Wexler, but whatever. So anyways, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember reading at one point, Wexler was actually, one of the guys who worked on the cartoon. He was one of the drawers, maybe, or something like that, or a producer. But either way, Wexler's an actual guy, so they just kind of honored him, I guess. So I thought that, that's cool, I guess. But anyway, so it cuts to the movie Mortal Kombat, where she tracks Kano down to the tournament and fights him. And it looks like the movie, and Kano has hair. And I'm like, all right, did he grow his hair out, I guess, for the tournament? And then, it doesn't show her killing him like she does in the movie. She just kind of flips him over and that's it. But then Katana drops a line like, it looks like Shao Kahn or a certain emperor must have helped him, avoid death or whatever. So I guess they're just implying, like, if it is connected to the movie, continuity-wise, that he was resurrected by Khan. I don't know. Or maybe he had a spell on him where he couldn't die or whatever. But either way, Kano's back. And, of course, Sonya's upset. So, apparently Kano just shaved his head again and then put on his MK3 outfit. And he's ready to rock and roll, baby. So, anyways, the rift happens. And, of course, they're already pretty skeptical. And so, Nightwolf's like, listen, I'm going to break us up. I'll send half the team to check out the rift. But the other half comes with me to Egypt. And so basically he sends Liu Kang, Katana, and Stryker to check out the rift, and then him, Jax, Sub-Zero, and Sonya go to Egypt. I did notice here, I haven't done it side by side. If anybody knows this, please do it for me because I don't have the time to do this research. But it looks like every time they get in the combat jets, they literally, I think they're just reusing the same animation every time. Because at one point, it shows the 3 fighter jets leaving when they go to check out the first Egyptian rift. But it's like, you just left the other 3 back there. Like, did y'all take the jets yourself? Like, what the hell? Like, I guess Raiden portaled them back or whatever, teleported them back or whatever, but still, it's like, damn. And I think the reason they did that was because they already had the animation drew up for 3 jets leaving and 3 jets swimming and all that stuff. So they're like, screw it. We'll just keep reusing it. So anyways, I digress. But it does look like every time we get the footage, it's the same footage from last time. Which I know it's standard animation, whatever, but I'm noticing it. So we get to Egypt and right off the bat, Sonya's just being a bitch and she's just like, I knew there was nothing here. You're wrong. Can't you just admit you're wrong? But Nightwolf notices that on the side of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, there's like a button that has a dragon emblem on it. And they're clearly standing on a big rectangle. So they go up to it, they push it, and sure enough, it drops out, and they all slide down. So right off the bat, they see all the torches lit up, so they know, okay, someone's here. And so they're like, all right, let's split up and try to find out what's going on. And they're on bet. Sonya's just like, well, I'm going with Nightwolf. Like, now she's completely on his nuts. So Nightwolf, Sonya, and Kiva go one way. Jax and would be Sub-Zero go the other. And so, anyways, they instantly run into mummies. We got mummies, but these mummies are weak as shit. Like, one punch disintegrates them, one kick disintegrates them. Like, they go through it pretty easily. Like, they're worse than the putty soldiers or the scuds from VR Troopers. VR Troopers, never forget, it was better than Power Rangers, in my opinion. Anyways, they take out the mummies, and then, of course, they bump into Kano. And, of course, Kano reveals it, just like any Bond villain, just monologues. I had you guys running ragged, ha ha ha. He basically lays out the whole thing. And he's like, you guys didn't know what riff was going to be real, what was going to be fake, and all this other stuff. And at this time, Jax and Sub-Zero show up. They're still fighting them off, but they're outnumbered. However, Liu Kang, Stryker, and Katana show back up. And it turns out that in their communicators, there's also tracking devices. So, turns out, they give Nightwolf the praise he deserves because, like, hey, buddy, you put the tracking device in there. Good thinking. We shit on your episode, but good thinking here. And so now they're fighting big battle. Kano opens the rift, and something's up to come through. Well, it turns out, Nightwolf he shoots his magical, mystical bow and arrow into it. It blocks whatever's about to come out, and then they go ahead and Stryker goes there and seals it up. So at this point, Kano, him and Sonya's fighting. Sonya's getting the better of him. He goes to take his briefcase and run. Nightwolf throws his magical tomahawk at it, destroys the briefcase, but Kano gets away. Of course, the whole time he's like, this place is rigged to blow. You know all about that, Sonya, baby. And then the door shuts, he gets away, and they have to escape the Great Pyramid. And they do escape the Great Pyramid, and it explodes! And we lose one of the 7 wonders of the world. This pyramid just crumbles. It just sinks into the ground or explodes or whatever. It sinks into the ground is what it does. I mean, I guess we're supposed to think it just crumbled from explosion, but the animation was poor, and it just showed the pyramid going down. But either way, we just lost a landmark there. And then, of course, as they're all standing around, Nightwolf, they kind of give him an apology, and he's like, it's okay, I'm just glad to know I'm not going crazy. But Sonya still feels bad, because now she feels like she still failed, and Kano got away, and they're trying to reassure her, hey, it's okay. However, as we back out, we realize they're being watched on a magical camera inside Khan's cauldron, I guess. And, of course, he's like, this is only the beginning. I'll get you, Inspector Gadget. He does that whole spiel, right? And that's the end of the episode. I should mention this episode was actually dedicated to, Catherine something Hahn? Not Catherine Hahn, that's a girl from Anchorman. Catherine Wick, maybe? Either way, it was an associate producer who passed away during the production of the show or whatever, and she was the associate producer. So, nice little, nod to her or whatever. So, but, this episode, what I think of it. I liked it. Again, it's just funny that, the villains we got, at one point we had zombies and skeleton mummy things, and then we actually got legit mummy that's my God, the minions just suck in this. That's why Outworld never wins. Their minions are shit. Unless you got, the Shokans or the Satarians, but beyond that, it's you guys got shit going on. I guess the giant rock monster, the Clayface monster, they were pretty good. They didn't get jobbed out that quickly, but these mummies were garbage, man. It's like the Mean Street Posse. They sucked. But anyways, but no, overall, I thought the episode was pretty good. The inclusion of Kano was awesome. It is funny that, one of the big complaints was they didn't have Johnny Cage, which initially I was like, well, he wasn't part of MK3 originally, and I think they were just kind of going for this MK3 thing. But they had Reptile and Baraka, sort of, for both. So I don't know. I guess in the fact that they just kind of retconned Kano's death from the movie, which again, I guess he was in MK3, so I guess they had to kind of write them. But either way, I feel like you could have brought Johnny Cage back. And who knows, if the show would have kept going, if we would have got season 2, maybe Johnny Cage would have come back. I hear that Stryker's attitude and his smart aleck, approach to things was kind of that was written for Johnny Cage, or it's kind of this Johnny Cage substitute we got here. Although, thus far, he hasn't been that wisecracking. Really, the wisecracker of the group is definitely Jax. He's the one who's, he's cracking wise on everyone else. Sorry, I'm trying to think what to say there, and I just kept coming back to cracking wise. A Weisenheimer. There we go. There's an old-timey phrase I can use. But anyway, I don't know. Johnny Cage. Could have been fun. But anyway, they brought Kano back. I like that. We finally get to see Shao Kahn for the first time. Because at this point, we've just been hearing him or, hearing of him or whatever. We finally get to see this guy. We see his home base. So things are getting serious for the Defenders. However, at least now they know that they can trust each other and each other's instincts and all that stuff. They can work as a team. And that's what it's all about. Teamwork makes the dream work. Doesn't matter. It's working for them. So there you guys have it. That was this episode 6. Familiar Red. What did you guys think of it? Of course, drop that stuff down below. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching, and till next time. Hey, I'm Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 7, Fall from Grace review. My God. So I want to apologize ahead of time, guys. I am fighting a cold right now, so if I feel a little funny, a little stuffed up, that's why. We get illnesses down here in Netherrealm as well, so. Alrighty, so, Fall from Grace. The basic premise here is, Sonya is going to need a lesson in teamwork. That, Stryker, to a lesser extent, Nightwolf, everyone's trying to teach her. However, it's coming at a horrible time because Shiva and her army are trying to attack. So we kick things off. We're at a volcano. It's an active volcano, but it's like a crater on the side of it. It hasn't quite erupted just yet. Shiva and the Shokan show up. And of course, she's just secure the perimeter, kill anything that's here. And of course, the defenders show up, and that's the whole, fight right there. So basically what happens is they're fighting everybody, they're doing pretty good. Defenders are holding their own. However, there's a big explosion, and rocks topple down, and it traps Sub-Zero's foot. I assumed that was going to break his foot. Like, somehow it doesn't. But either way, he's trapped right there. Striker's trying to, pry it open. And Sonya's like, I'm going after Shiva. And, of course, Striker's like, hold off. Just a second. We'll help you out. You need backup. She's like, there's no time. Combat time. She says combat time like 2 or 3 times. So anyway, she takes off running. And, of course, at this point, Sub-Zero's like, oh, what the hell? So gets, Sub-Zero loose. He's hobbled, but he's like, I'm good. Go after her. So, as she's going after Shiva, there is a lot of smoke in the air, but once it clears, Shiva throws a fireball. Striker pushes Sonya out of the way, but he takes it right in the shoulder. Or the arm, not necessarily the shoulder. Upper arm. Goes down, and of course, already pissed and bitching and moaning, why didn't you just, do teamwork or whatever. Anyways, they're being attacked, but, Jax and the others kind of, fend them off. And so, at this point, Striker's just like, he should be suspended. And I'm like, since when did they make him, like, team captain? And I've been pushing for Striker all season. You know that. I'm a Striker fan, especially in the, Defenders of the Realm. But it is almost like, dude, you're not the boss. You're not even close to being the fucking boss. I mean, you should be lucky to be part of this group. But he's calling for it. And so anyways, the plan is they're going to, get Striker out. Sonya's going to take Striker back to the base while they try to, put the Shokons back into the portal. Because again, the Shokons, they're fighting back pretty good. So, at this point, Sonya and Striker make it back to the base. Nightwolf's there, and he's trying to, of course, they got him healed up, but he's going to be out of commission for, a little bit. And so, at this point, Raiden shows up, and they do kind of push through the suspension. They don't quite come out and say it, but it's like, yeah, you're going to stay here and watch after Striker, and me and Nightwolf will go help the others fend off the Shokon. And as I first mentioned that too, that's an important part. Whenever Sonya jumps into the fighter jet to take Striker back, she doesn't do a full, I forget what you call it, like some kind of protocol. And she's like, there's no time. And that's going to be important here in a second. She's like, there's no time for a protocol. We got to get you back, make sure you're safe. So anyways, Sonya's suspended, I guess. And so her and Striker are there, and she's trying to buddy up and apologize, and he's just being a dick about it. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, okay, don't get me wrong. She definitely has this, like, I'll take it on my own, I'll go my own way or whatever type thing. Combat time. It's like the first time that she's just jumped headfirst into battle. That happened in her first episode as well. So she has a history of this, and it's going to get her in trouble. But at the same time, dude, they're really shitty to her. Like, everybody's just like, Sonya, you should. And I'm like, guys, should we really be handing out suspensions now? Like, seriously? Like, at this point, there is an invasion, and they're getting the upper hand. Maybe we can deal with that first, and then suspend her later. But I guess they really want to prove a point, so they, throw the suspension out now. Nightwolf did leave behind Kiva. He's like, she's better than any security system. Kiva will stay behind. He goes with Raiden. And it's kind of odd because, again, they're struggling with the Shokons. And I feel like Nightwolf is at full power when Kiva jumps into him. So he's not even going to be at full power. He's not even going to be full Nightwolf at this point. However, Raiden, he is a god. And you're thinking, like, he just goes there and just lay waste, and just zap everybody. But he doesn't. He's focused more on the portal than anything else. I'm like, dude, just zap everybody. And then you can throw him into the portal. But he doesn't. So anyways, they're fighting, and that's, that's pretty much it. They keep cutting back to them, and they're, defending against the Shokon or whatever. So we get back to the base, and at this point, Kiva, she's freaking out. And of course, Striker's just like, I knew the dog was going to turn against me. Of course, Sonya's like, no, it's not that. Someone's here. And sure enough, the alarm goes off, and when they get on the cameras, Shokon, and it's a guy named Zenkara, and like, I don't know, several Shokon henchmen are all there. So at this point, she's like, I'm going to run, take him out. And he's like, no, again, you didn't learn a lesson. You got, listen to me. We got visual. I can lead you to how, we can take out the numbers first or whatever. And so as they're splitting up or whatever, she takes out the first group. She ends up like hiding in a pipe, puts a bomb on it, drops it, traps them in one area, and then she ends up,
don't think she does really anything. She just kind of gets their attention, and she does blast something. That's what it is. I guess like more of a distraction than anything else. Her line's pretty funny, though, because she's like, you didn't see me. I bet you guys wish you had 4 eyes. And the guy who turns around has an eye patch. So it's like, oh, shit. Oh, that guy's feeling like shit right now. So anyways, Stryker opens up this, like, water main, and water shoots out and, like, flushes the Shokan out into, like, a little reservoir or whatever. Just, they're in a little chamber. So then, you know, she ends up going towards, she goes back to the command center, and now they're breaking in. And they end up going after Stryker, who he picks up the chair, and I'm like, lunge it, but he just kind of holds it. And the guard just grabs the chair and fucking throws it aside. Before they can do anything, though, Sonya shows up, beats up the other Shokans pretty easily, and then she fights with Zenkara. And Zenkara throws her around for a little bit, but she eventually, you know, does the kiss of death, you know, kiss off, blasts him in the chest, takes him down. So anyways, at this point, going back to Raiden and the other defenders, they're like, we gotta get out of here. And he realizes, okay, this is pointless. And he just decides to, like, shoot lightning into the volcano and make it erupt. And of course, everyone else is like, dude, a little bit of a heads up. He's like, yeah, sorry about that. And at this point, lava's just shooting everywhere. And of course, the others get into the jets and they take off. Shiva and the other Shokan are just like, all right, we'll get you guys next time. And then they take off through the portal. He seals it and he teleports out there. And so when they get back to the home base, they see that, you know, the Shokan has been taken out. And at this point, he, like, grabs them all, levitates them, and, like, throws them into the portal. And I'm like, dick, you could have done that shit out there by the volcano. Why didn't you? Anyway, so he cleans up the mess. They end up cleaning up the rest of them down in that reservoir thing. And so they have their final little meeting, and they decide they're going to leave it up to Stryker. Again, giving this dude all kinds of power to decide if Sonya Blade is going to be suspended or not. And at this point, there's a little bit of a story arc, a little bit of conclusion here. Stryker and Kiva are getting buddy-buddy, which up to this point, Kiva's always growled and barked at Stryker, and Stryker just openly hates the dog. But now he's like petting her and shit, and they're buddies, so look at that. And of course, you know, at this point, he's like, you know, Sonya, I don't know if you're going to learn your lesson or not, but guess what? You're no longer suspended. It's lifted, and boom, we can get back out there. But she's not happy. And she explains she just kind of, you know, maybe she was looking for an excuse to get out of this fight. You know, she could have ran away from everything, took the suspension, and went home. Because she mentions earlier, her and Stryker both, they kind of have a bonding moment where they're both just kind of like, we're tired of fighting all the time. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's got to get old. Because, I mean, at least in tournament play, it's once a year, once every 50 years or whatever, but it's like a weekend event. You fight, you're done, you go home. But here, it's like a full-on invasion, so they're constantly, and it's like, it's not going to end. This ain't going to be good for them, you know? And they're not even attacking Outworld. They're just defending. So it's like, until they go on the offense, this will never fucking end. So it does kind of end on one of those kind of bitter notes, you know, but it is what it is, and the episode fades out. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Again, Sonya Blade could be a little annoying in this series. The whole combat time thing's a little ridiculous. I do feel like they overreacted and punished her way too early. Get the job done first and then dole out. I guess that's the whole point. You know, trying to teach kids, hey, it don't matter if you're in a crunch. You do things by the book. It's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit, but whatever. They're trying to teach a lesson, I guess. You know, cool Shiva back. You know, Shokans, they're always a pretty good adversarial group. I think that's probably the better army that we've had so far, as far as like every minions, sub-minions or whatever. So, yeah. So overall, I'm giving the episode a thumbs up. I enjoyed it. You know, and we get Stryker and Kiva buddying up now. So we got that going for us. So anyway, that's episode 7. So guys, what'd you think about it? Drop the comments down below. How's it compared to the other episode so far? It's middle of the deck for me. I've yet to really sit down. We're getting too far ahead, so I can't keep track. I need to write them down, I guess. At the end of the series, I will rank my episodes or whatever. But as of right now, it's like, yeah, it is what it is. But that's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching, and till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 8, The Secret of Quan Chi review.
Alrighty, so Quan Chi, he has gotten his hands on this like sacred ancient stone, right? And the stone has the power to basically bring out the inner evil inside anyone. And he plans on using that against the defenders. Alrighty, so we start things off with Quan Chi. And the crazy thing about this is actually the first appearance of Quan Chi across any Mortal Kombat medium. This episode debuted before Mortal Kombat 4 or Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. So yeah, we're getting debuting Quan Chi here. And it starts off, you see a battle between the defenders and the cybernetic Lin Kuei, ninja warriors. And but it turns out it's Quan Chi kind of looking to the future. He's a pool of, I don't know, premonition, something or other. He throws a lot of mystical terms out there for you. So, but anyways, he sees it. And so we cut to the cave hideout headquarters of the defenders. And we get Jax and Sonya, and they're sparring. And then Sonya calls Jax blubberbutt, which Jax loses his shit. Like, insane, right? And we find out, he goes, when he was a kid, he was fat. The fattest kid in school. And everybody called him blubberbutt. So Sonya's like, hey, don't worry, I'm not going to say nothing to nobody. And so anyways, there is a rift in the dimensional fabric or whatever. And Earthrealm is being hacked. Somewhere in Iceland. So, all the defenders jump in the jets and they head out that way. They get out there and boom, Lin Kuei, cybernetic warriors pop out and there's a shit ton of them. And so it's just the battle we've saw. And again, I keep bringing this up in every review, but it's because everyone complains about how like non-violent and how weak this Mortal Kombat cartoon was. It's like these cybernetic warriors, like it's established in the game that a lot of them still have their soul inside of them, which means when Sonya Blade like knocks one into like this like fire pit or whatever, and it explodes like on impact, that's a death. She killed somebody. That happened. And like you're seeing them, like everyone's beating the shit out of these cybernetic warriors, and like one gets like thrown into like one tar pit thing, it comes up and just like disintegrates. So it's like we're getting tons of death left and right on this show. I don't know what everyone's bitching about, but whatever. So while they are all fighting these cybernetic warriors, Quan Chi, and he's got this whole like snake thing going on. Like he's got the staff of a snake on it. It becomes a belt at one point. It's a pet. It's a weapon. I don't know. Dude's got like the harness power of the snake. I don't know. I didn't play a lot of the Quan Chi in the game. Like I was a Ridge Tridge kind of guy. I played the first 3 nonstop and only dabbled a little bit later on. Is Snake a part of like Quan Chi's thing? Let me know in the comment section down below. I have no clue. Anyways, so the Quan Chi opens up a portal in like the Amazon somewhere, or Peru. No, sorry, it was the Peru. And so he's in Peru, and he heads into like this, it turns out, they mentioned it once before that, Earthrealm is kind of like the crossroads between other realms. So Quan Chi, hits the ride to Cesara. I think we mentioned that before in when Scorpion was trying to resurrect, or not Scorpion, was a Kano. Somebody was trying to resurrect Shang Tsung, and it was Zathara was the whatever, the realm or whatever. So Quan Chi's there, and he gets this big ass ruby thing. It's guarded by like a giant skull, like a flaming skull, but again he uses his little like snake staff that produces a snake, that produces a snake out of its mouth, which produces multiple snakes that wrap around it and just carry it off. Brilliant. And then Quan Chi, he gets it. So, at this point, Nightwolf's like, hey, we got a rift in, Peru. Of course, they're too busy fighting all these, cybernetic warriors. They finally do get into their jets and take off. So they're in Peru, and they're trying to figure out, what the heck. And then a rift opens up, and this young boy comes running out, pale as shit. And he's just like, I escaped. I fled from the outworld. And, I'm in your debt. Please, help me. And he reaches into his bag. He's like, I got nothing for you but this. And Stryker's already like, whoa, I'm former riot squad. That could be a bomb. I don't know. I'm blocking you. But he pulls out the jewel. And it reminds me like, you guys remember the cartoon Heavy Metal? The animated movie Heavy Metal? With all the titties and everything in it? There's one short in that where there's an orb that everyone who laid eyes on it went psychotic.
Oh, they do it in American Dad also, the golden turd. There's like all the jewels and shit on it. Same thing. Everybody someone sees it, brings out the evil in him. Well, that's what happens. And he's, you know, he has it out. And the only one who doesn't quite crack initially is Katana. The other 5 are just like instantly brain mush. But Katana's like, you know, we can't accept that or whatever. But of course, the kid is like, ah, you've already accepted it, and he runs back into the, you know, dimensional rift. So, at this point now, the 6 go back to home base, where they are bickering hardcore. Like, we get Stryker and Sub-Zero, they're fighting over, you know, Stryker's like, you went too fast, you almost wrecked us back there. And that's their whole beef the entire time. Of course, Sonya and Jax are still bickering, to which Sonya is constantly now calling Jax blubberbutt, and then tells everybody, hey, he was fat in school. And that, I mean, it just sends Jax off the deep end. I'm not gonna lie, Jax is becoming my least favorite character on this show. Like, he's such a bitch. Like, he's, seriously, he pout, like, when he didn't have his metal arms, he's, like, whining. And now he's called blubberbutt. The dude's jacked as fuck. Like, I don't care how insecure you think he was at one point. Get over it. You can bang any of those chicks there. You know he's got the BBC going on, and giant metal arms to boot. What's he bitching about? And yet, he's literally over there like, don't call me blubberbutt. Anyways, he does. I can't remember if it's this or if it's later. I think it's later. But he drops some harsh shit on Sonya. He's like, yeah, that's rich coming from you. You know, you're such a loser. You let your own partner get killed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, we're, you know, striking below the belt here. So anyways, Nightwolf instantly is like, yeah, you know, clearly something's up here. You guys are all fighting. What's going on? And the only other thing that's bickering is, we don't get any bickering between Katana and Liu Kang, but it's Sonya and Katana. And whenever Sonya goes over to Katana, Liu Kang steps in there, and she's like, oh yeah, we can't mess with Liu Kang's girl if you ever admit it. Ew! It's pretty ridiculous. But anyways, so, sorry, I'm fighting a cold too. Probably should have done this, but whatever. So anyways, Raiden shows up, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And instantly, Katana's the only one. And I guess because she's moved from another realm, and that's maybe why she isn't quite as affected as the others. But she quickly tells him, you know, Raiden what's going on. And of course, Raiden pieces it together. And he's like, yes, this is Stonus. This is from Zathara. Or Zasara. Tatsui? The Stone of Tatsui, or something like that. Anyways, he's like, yeah, the Stone of Tatsui. And instantly Katana's like, oh, that's Quan Chi. I recognize that boy now. That was Quan Chi. And they know he is this, like, renegade, lone sorcerer. And, you know, clearly he's using it. And the thing is, like, he can harness the power, but it'll affect him. So you have to take it back to its, like, starting place. In Sathara, you gotta put it back in there, you know. And so he's like, you guys gotta destroy the stone, because if not, within a day, you guys are gonna be so evil that you're gonna probably kill each other. And so they decide to, you know, head out there. And Raiden sends Nightwolf with him, because clearly he's the only one who's not infected, to try to, you know, help him out. So Nightwolf and Kiva go with him. And, of course, Raiden can't, you know, he can't do anything because he's powerless, and, you know, Zathara. So that can't be what I'm saying, right? Because Zathara's the Jumanji 2 sequel, right? Sahara? Cesara, that's what it was, Cesara. And so anyways, they head off in their fighter jets to Cesara. And anyways, so they get there, they're looking around, again, fighting amongst each other. Nightwolf finally is like, I'm gonna look, Kiva's sniffing it out, we'll go, you guys hang back. They're still bitching, but then boom, an army of rock monsters pop up. Now, they're fighting them pretty good. These rock monsters are weak as shit. You hit them, they just disintegrate. But while they're fighting, they keep bumping into each other and pissing each other off even more. And so then, before they can really get down to blows, though, Nightwolf's like, guys, come and see this. And they look, and there is Tatsui, which is just like this giant energy ball, and the stone's inside there. How you get inside there, I have no idea, but they magically are just now walking through caves, and they come upon the stone. And so now they're like, you know, one of us has got to destroy it. Only the strongest of you can do it. Because at this point, Quan Chi's, you know, his face is coming up, and all these, I guess, ice, I'm guessing, like little ice chunks everywhere. And of course, they're like, you know, only the strongest can do it. And then they start fighting amongst each other. Who is the strongest? And at this point, they're not holding back. Like, Sonya's the first one to throw her special. She fucking energy rings the shit out of Katana in the back, and then they all start fighting. It's funny because the animation gets really bad. If you look at one point, Stryker and Sub-Zero square off. Because the girls fight each other, Jax and Liu Kang are fighting each other, and Stryker and Sub-Zero. But, like, when you do the pullback shot, like, Stryker is literally just, like, moving his arm up and down, and, like, Sub-Zero is just punching, and they just repeat that animation over and over. Looks ridiculous. I was so focused on that, I didn't even get to see the other two, see if, their fighting was good or not. I just saw that, my eye was drawn to that, and that's all it was. Just on a loop. Ridiculous. So anyways, Nightwolf, he's tracking it down, and of course Quan Chi realizes, oh shit, he's the one I need to get. So Quan Chi comes behind him, goes to zap him with the snake thing, lightning bolt. Kiva gets away, takes the bullet, goes down. Of course, Nightwolf goes after Quan Chi. Quan Chi throws the snake at him. Snake wraps around his legs, trying to bite him. However, the only one that can kind of break through again is Katana. Because, like, Nightwolf at one point, like, reaches up, because they're all fighting each other. They're not paying attention to him or Quan Chi. And he's just like, please, somebody, And Katana's the only one I guess he can kind of mind meld with, or kind of, hey, snap out for a second. She comes over, kicks the snake off. Snake disintegrates against the wall. And then that somehow breaks it. Like the mental spell. And they all kind of snap out of it. And they all look at Quan Chi. And he's like, oh, shit. And then Nightwolf, he's able to snap out enough time. He gets his little tomahawk thing. And he shatters the stone. Which Quan Chi's like, fuck. And then he just turns into smoke and disappears. So at this point now, Tatsui is falling apart. And they all escape. And then they get back home. And of course, Raiden's proud of him. And we get a nice little wrap up. And he's like, yep. And then you guys have said some horrible things to each other. And it's going to take about a month to undo all that. So, start apologizing. And, like, Sonya's the only one that apologizes to Jax for calling him Blubberbutt. And then we just end the episode. And I'm like, Jax, you dick. You definitely called out Sonya, who is the most sensitive when it comes to her partner dying. And rightfully so. That's a human being who is her partner, who she feels like she let down and died on her watch, pretty much. And nothing is said of it again. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, and that's the end of the episode. That's the end of episode 8, The Secret of Quan Chi. One thing about this episode, I enjoyed it. It's very childlike, I guess. It's very whatever. The plot's very kiddish. The whole calling each other elementary level insults. It is what it is. With the exception of Jax dropping the fucking hammer with, you let your partner die. That's pretty fucked up. Everything else was whatever. But it was cool seeing Quan Chi show up. I like that we have a deep roster of villains at this point. Even at this point, back in 98, we had, or was this 97? No, sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself. 96. So even back in 96, we had a deep roster of just awesome villains. So, liked it from that standpoint. Storyline's a little weak, but I don't know. It was alright. I mean, it would have been better, I guess, if they actually tried to go murderous on each other. But again, it is a cartoon for kids. And I'm not that dick like you guys, shitting all over it. But it's alright. It wasn't bad. I quit trying to do this in order. I'm going to wait till the very last episode, and I'll do a rundown of the episodes, and I'll rank them, my favorite or whatnot. So, there you guys have it. That's episode 8. Have you guys seen it? Let me know what you guys thought about this episode in particular. I'm dying to know what you guys thought of it. That's all I got. Guys, thank you for watching. Till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 9, Resurrection Review. Alrighty, so, basically Shang Tsung has been resurrected, brought back from the dead, and with the help of this alien orb, he's able to kind of weaken and take away Raiden's powers. And this is actually a part 3 of like a 4 episode story arc that involves other TV shows, and it has a cameo in the end by the Wing Master. Alright, that's a lot to unpack here, so let me get into that part first. So apparently, during this Saturday morning block of cartoons, you had Street Fighter, the Savage Dragon, Mortal Kombat, and then Wing Commander Academy. And they were trying to tie them all together, and they had the Wing Master, who apparently is some kind of like interdimensional portal hopping, time traveling being, and this orb. And I guess they kind of loosely tied them all together with him kind of appearing in each episode. So that's the only thing that really ties together. However, I guess he had a bigger part in the other shows. Here, he only kind of has a cameo at the end, and you don't even know who he is. In fact, I remember watching it, thinking, what the... Like, the first time I saw it, before I even knew about this at all, I didn't know anything about this period. I'm thinking, like, well, who's that guy? And then it's just never brought up again. And went until I started in this show, I did my research, I was like, oh, okay, that's what they were doing. Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, that's what's happening here. So, anyways, we kick things off. Shadow Priest bring in a crate that has bones in it. Small coffins in Outworld. They just put you in a box. But they dump them out in front of Shao Kahn. And Khan's like, do you have the elixir or whatever, the potion? And apparently it's so secret that only Shadow Priests know about this potion. And he takes it out, puts a drop on the bones, and it's Shang Tsung back. However, the first thing Shao Kahn does when Shang Tsung comes back, just pimp smacks the shit out of him. He's pissed. You failed me too many times, and now, we are at war with Earthrealm instead of invading it. However, because at this point, Shang Tsung's like, why'd you bring me back then? You're just going to beat me up. He's like, I was already being tortured. And he was basically, I guess, in the Netherrealm. They don't come out and say it, but it's a hell-type place with all these horned creatures. And he's like, oh, don't get wrong. If you mess up this, you're going back. But here's what we're going to do. And he explains that he found this alien orb. He pulls it out of this other dimension. And with it, you can yield all the powers of Earth. All the elements. You control nature, pretty much. And with it, you can take away Raiden's powers. And so, he's showing it. He's demonstrating how powerful this thing is. And then he just, hands it over to Shang Tsung. And I'm like, even though what we know now with the Deadly Alliance, it's like, you had to know this was going to backfire, right? And the funny thing is, as soon as he hands the orb over, he's like, you better not fail me. Him and the Shadow Priest, walk off screen. And they're barely off for, a second before Shang Tsung's like, not only will I get my revenge on Raiden, but I will take out Shao Kahn as well and rule the Outworld. Ha ha. And I'm like, dude, he's right there. You're yelling all this stuff out, he's right there, but whatever. Anyways, so we already know Shang Tsung's planning on using this orb to take over Earthrealm, and then fuck over Shao Kahn. So we now cut to, and I want to apologize in advance. I'm fighting a cold right now, and I can feel myself wanting to cough in a second, so if I start coughing up a lung, don't be alarmed. So we cut now back to the Defenders, and they're in the cave, and they're all repairing and cleaning the different fighter jets they had, the combat jets. And of course, Jax is giving Raiden shit, calls him girlfriend again. That's written into the screenplay right there. Someone literally wrote that back in '96. Jax looks up at Raiden and says, what's going on, girlfriend? And they're like, you're going to have him say girlfriend? He's like, yeah, but he'll say it sassy. And we all know sassy is just code for black. And that's how you're going to say it. It's ridiculous. But it's forgiven because later on, Raiden returns to the girlfriend in the straightest, whitest voice ever. Well, let's talk about it, girlfriend. And it's just like, okay, you know what? All is forgiven and I'll take everything back. Anyways, so Jax is kind of busting Raiden's balls about not helping him out. And then instantly, Raiden has a weird seizure. And he just starts shaking and he drops. And of course, instantly Jack's like, what's wrong? And of course, Katana and Liu Kang come over and, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Get back to work. But Nightwolf, kicks in. He goes, guys, we got a problem. Everybody, to the command center. And so they all head that way. The only person who's not really buying anything is Jax. He knows something's wrong with Raiden. So you get there to the command center, and it turns out it's not a rip in the dimensional portal, no. But there's something else weird going on. And of course, it's there's something weird going on. We should go check it out. So Raiden, of course, at this point, what it is, it's the nature is going insane. Like, there's earthquakes where there shouldn't be earthquakes. Like, there's no plates, and yet the earth is shaking. There's tidal waves in the desert. You see ice melting, tornadoes, just all kinds of, fucking natural disasters happening all over the globe. And so they kind of pinpointed the source. And so Raiden's like, yeah, head out there, check it out. And Jax is instantly like, hey, is this connected to that weird seizure thing you had? Raiden plays it off. So then Jax fakes a headache. He's like, guys, I'm not feeling myself. Head out there, leave the fighter jet. I'll catch up with you, but just, let me try to get my bearings together. So Raiden's like, I'll watch the command center. Nightwolf's like, fine, I'll take your spot. And they head off. So Jax is instantly like, hey, Raiden, what's going on? Is this connected? Is this whole thing, And of course, Raiden admits, yes, I've been feeling weird. I don't, there's something wrong with my powers. And, I don't know what's going on. And yeah, it must be this. So at this point, Jax is going to stay behind and help him. And they decide to go check it out together. And you get a cool interaction between the two. Because again, even from the beginning, episode 1, these guys are always busting each other's balls. So to kind of see them have to kind of lean on each other, it's kind of neat. We do get the Defenders show up. And, there's cybernetic warriors. They're fighting them off. As they push him back into, and we get some cool moments. We get, Sub-Zero's got a hold of one guy. He's like, turns into ice and shatters him, killing him. We establish these guys have souls, so another murder on Mortal Kombat cartoon. We get, Stryker, because, Sonya always says combat time when she's ready to fight. We get Stryker doing strike time. I don't know if that catchphrase ever caught on. Let's be honest. Combat time never really caught on either, but I sure shit know strike time didn't catch on. Anyways, though, he's used his nightstick to kick some ass. Eventually, they end up sending him back into the rift, and then they're going to seal it up. However, a big freaking wind gust takes them all down, and they're Shang Tsung. And of course, he's like, I got my revenge, and Liu Kang's like, I got this, but instantly, Shang Tsung whoops his ass, and then he opens up the earth. They all drop inside this chasm. They all basically barely hang on. They're almost going to fall in some lava. They hang on, and then the chasm's going to close on them. But he stops at just dying. He's like, listen, you get a hold of Raiden, you tell him I want to meet him here. We're going to fight Mortal Kombat. And if he fails to show up, I want to squish all you guys. So, they communicate back. And Raiden doesn't tell them what's going on. He leaves them in the dark. He don't let them know he's losing his powers. Or he lost his powers. So Jax is like, alright, I'm with you. That's the best way we do this. He goes, we don't have very many powers. And whenever our backs against the wall, teamwork is what, keeps us going. So I'm going with you. So getting a little fighter jet. We do get a nice little moment where Raiden and Jax are talking. And Jax is like, why do you put yourself in harm's way all the time? For us, like, you're an elder god. You can rule over any, realm you want. You don't have to be doing this. And Raiden just says, like, basically, he likes the diversity of Earth. And he says, you get a lot of power. He goes, Earth is both the most powerful realm, but also the most fragile. But he can draw a lot of it. Not only does he get kind of like the power from Earth, but almost like he has a connection to the people. And he also says he likes rooting for the underdog. But then, of course, he's kind of, he's still a little sensitive that he's a mere mortal at this point. And Jax kind of busts his balls about that. But then Raiden's like, well, what about you? Why do you, keep putting yourself at risk for Earthrealm? Of course, his response is like, it's the same thing. I like this place. It's, it's home. And then he kind of drops like, if I don't, Outworld will take us over, and that could be the end anyway. So if I'm not going to fight, who will, kind of thing. And I do like that sentiment, because they kind of go ahead and acknowledge that, literally, they acknowledge that, it's a never-ending fight. And this is the same sentiment that Sonya had a couple episodes back when she was suspended, and she was kind of looking for a way out. Like, a part of her was, like, if I would have got suspended completely and kicked out of the group, at least that would have been an excuse to no longer fight. And you get the sense that they're all kind of getting fatigued by this. And I do like that because that does kind of echo the first few games, because I always felt like that's something they didn't really touch on in the video games, at least the first three, that much with Liu Kang. Because Liu Kang wins the first tournament, and everything should be good for like 50 years, and then boom, his entire temple is destroyed. And yes, he comes back and wins part 2, but he goes home to what? To have to rebuild. And still, it doesn't matter because 2 years later, invasion from Outworld. So it's like, that would get old, and that's your life now. It's not like the old days where you could win a tournament, have peace for at least 50 years or whatever, live your lifetime, keep competing, lose, whatever, but still know, like, hey, Earthrealm's safe until whatever. No, you don't have that luxury anymore. Like, now you're just at constant war. So I did like that conversation between Raiden and Jax. I thought it was, really good little scene right there. So they show up, and of course, at this point, as the fighter jet enters, the area, Shang Tsung knocks it down with the orb, crashes it. Of course, Raiden has disappeared. And of course, Raiden's whole thing is like, yes, I may not have my powers, but I got over 1,000 years of combat experience. Like, I know how to fight. And I can beat Shang Tsung. However, it's the orb I can't fight. And so it shows it, because right off the bat, him and Shang Tsung square off. And Raiden's getting the upper hand initially, but then orb and just lightning bolt. And he's just using Mother Nature against Raiden. Now, while this is going on, he's kicking Raiden's ass. Jax is trying to pull up the other defenders. He got a rope. He's pulling them up. They're all climbing up. Sub-Zero's the only one who can't climb, and they went like very literal with him. Apparently, heat fucks him up, which is something I don't think they ever really added before or since. In fact, I know they did it before, and I'm pretty sure they didn't do it since. Because we even see the original Sub-Zero in Mythologies head down to the Netherrealm, and there's lava scenes and shit down there, and he's fine. So it's like, I don't know if I'm buying that or not. But anyways, here he's just so weak. And like Nightwolf, being the beast that he is, just throws his ass over his shoulder, one hand, and just starts climbing that shit. And you're like, dude, that's strong. He does have Kiva inside him though, so that may help. Anyways, however, Shang Tsung discovers it, that that Jax is helping him, and he starts pushing it together. The chasm's closing. He's gonna squish him. And then Raiden jumps in from behind, knocks the orb out of his hand. Jax is able to jump, grab it, throw it to Raiden. Raiden stops the chasm just in time. Our defenders all get out, unscathed. And then, of course, at this point, he's going to whip Shang Tsung's ass. And he goes, I don't need an orb to do it. And so he whips Shang Tsung's ass. However, he does have his powers back. And instead of killing him, he just throws him back into the portal. Which is another dumb mistake. He's like, I'll have, Shao Kahn deal with him. It's like, Shao Kahn's way too forgiving as it is. Just in general, when it comes to Shang Tsung. Like, yeah, he's pretty pissed now, but it's like, it's a Shang Tsung. He's gonna weasel his way out of it. Raiden, what the fuck? You should have killed him when you had a chance. But he doesn't, and he sends him back into the Outworld. And so, he decides he's gonna throw the orb back into a portal and send it to space to get rid of it for good. And when he does, there's a big flash, and when that flash happens, you see a shadow figure run out, and then run right into the portal, disappearing, and no one sees him. And that was the Wing Master from this whole story arc with the other cartoons. So anyways, portal shuts, and our heroes are good. Of course, we get some lighthearted banter between the two, between Jax and Raiden. Of course, Sonya's like, you guys are buddies now? And they're like, not likely. But you do realize that, yes, now they kind of understand each other a little bit more, and there is a friendship forming there. So, and that was the ninth episode, Resurrection. I liked it. I thought it was a really good storyline. I'll give them props for trying something different on the USA Network. It didn't really work out, and as a standalone episode, it does nothing for that arc or the Wing Master. But I think it's also smart to kind of minimize that as much as you could. Because honestly, unless this was a huge hit, like all 4 shows were huge hits, then this don't mean anything, really. It really doesn't. Unless you were that, 10% of kids who actually watch all 4 shows, you're just like, yay. It doesn't matter. But beyond that, I thought this was a really solid episode. Cool to see Shang Tsung back. Good that he's not dead. Kind of glad, he survives. And I don't think he comes back the rest of the season. But, had the show going on, we would have got more Shang Tsung. I'm sure of it. Yeah, the dynamic between Jax and Raiden was awesome. Love this storyline, love this whole thing. Yeah, solid thumbs up. So, if you guys see this episode, tell me what you think about. Comment section down below. I never did watch the other episodes. I never seen the other shows, period. So I don't know if they're any good or not. But I am curious to see what the other episodes that deal with the Wingmaster are like. Because I'm kind of curious, like, does that arc make sense? Does this fit in nicely? Because it's supposed to be chronological. This, like I said, this is part 3. So it's like, does it fit well into the other 2? I don't know. Curious to hear what you guys think about it. Let me know. Comment section down below. That's all I got. Guys, thank you for watching. And till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, Episode 10, Swords of Ilkin, Review. Alright, so the basic plot here is, we get a little backstory. We meet Zara, who, I don't know, she's like kind of like an Amazon queen, I guess. She's running this, she's the leader of this tribe of women. And basically, she's opposing Kitana, and she is going after the swords of Ilkin. And of course, she's going to employ the help of Kitana, Sonya, and Jax to get these swords. So, I should mention right off the bat, this is the first episode that the antagonists are completely, like, original characters. Like, these aren't based on any previous Mortal Kombat characters. Nor are they, like, rip-offs or anything. It's not like Carbrak or the Imposter Reptile or whatever. No, this is literally just Zara. Whatever. So, basically what it is, we get a flashback scene of Zara, and basically what it is, of Kitana, and during a struggle between, and I'm not gonna remember all the names, I'm sorry, they're ridiculous, but like, it's like a father figure to Kitana. His name was like Rantha, something. Anyways, they were battling. He was the leader of the Crystal People, and Zara was from another dimension, Ilkin. And then tried to, like, take him out, and she had the Sword of Sathara, or Ilkin, sorry. Too many goofy-ass fucking names, if you ask my opinion. But anyways, Ramtha died during this whole thing, but, Kitana was able to defeat Zara and run her off. And they eventually end up hiding the 2 swords of Ilkin. You find out later that, each sword is powerful on its own. But combined, you can basically take over dimensions with it. Take over the realms and everything. So, they end up, Zara... sorry, I'm getting too ahead of myself here. We get a little B story. So, Sonya Blade, they think she's cooking. Jax goes into her, I guess, her room, and she's mixing a bowl of stuff, and he's like, oh, and he's like, oh man, this cookie batter is horrible, and it's like a face cream. And she's just like, I try to be feminine, you guys bust my balls on it. And so she's mad that, she just can't be a girl. This is literally a plot line from the cartoon. She can't be a girl, and she has no girls to talk to. And of course he's like, well, what about Kitana? And she's like, no, because she's always so guarded or whatever. And she's like, he's like, I don't know, give it a shot, go talk to her or whatever. And to Jax's credit, he's been kind of douchey in past episodes, but he's pretty cool at understanding here. It seems like these last few episodes have been pretty decent Jax episodes. I'm not saying it redeems him for when he was, like, bitching about his arms or crying over becoming blubberbutt, but he's getting better. I don't know, he's tolerable in this one. So anyways, Sonya goes to Kitana's room. She's meditating. Again, she senses that Zara is close by. She's getting nearer, And so anyway, she's kind of preoccupied with that. Well, it turns out, as Sonya trying to make awkward small talk with Kitana, the alarm goes off. Nightwolf calls everyone in. Turns out there's another rift, but there's something unusual about it. And so instantly, Sonya, at this point, she's expressing how much she's just not liking having to fight week in, week out, everything. And she's just pretty much over. She's like, fuck it, let's just go. And so they all head that way. They go check out the rift. Jax ends up trading his place with Sonya, who usually runs with her in the fighter jet, with Katana. He's like, I gotta talk to Lou about something. And, just a ploy to kind of get Katana and Sonya together. Again, they're making awkward small talk on the way there, but nothing really clicks for these two. So they get there, and instantly it's there's a rift. They go up to the rift, and as they're trying to go to the rift, it pulls in Jax, Sonya, and Katana. And then when Liu Kang tries to run, or Stryker tries to run into it, bam, it blocks them out. So there's an open rift, but there's a hidden barrier there. They can't get through. And it's just funny because you get scenes of like Liu Kang just kicking it and punching it, and like Stryker doing the same, and then fucking Sub-Zero throwing his ice ball. Like, they're just doing everything they can. And I'm just, and they said like, Liu Kang's throwing fireballs at and everything. They're just constantly running into it. It's ridiculous. And then at one point, Raiden shows up and he tries to, force his way through it. And I think it's Liu Kang just like runs into it. And I'm thinking like, dude, like, give it time. Like, wait for Raiden to give you the all clear. But he just like runs right into it and then bounces off. And Raiden's like, yeah, I can't open it. And it's like, I don't know, it's like one of the few times Liu Kang comes off kind of dumb. I don't know. I get a weird feeling that Liu Kang's character is a bit jealous here. Like, I don't think it's the pretense of him like, oh, it's my two friends on the other side. I think he's just like, oh shit, Katana's over there. Like, Sonya's over there too, and so is Jax, but hey, fucking Katana. And I think that's his main driving force here. Now, they don't come out and say that. This is me just kind of looking into things myself, but that's what it appeared like to me. So anyways, they're constantly trying to get in. That's their whole story right there. So Jax and Sonya and Katana go in there. They get ambushed by these Amazon women. They're able to fight back a little bit until Zara shows up, and then she ends up using the sword. She has one sword of Ilkin, and she ends up putting like a force field thing over Jax, and it's going to weaken him. And of course, she's like, Katana, I want you to go, get the other sword, because apparently she and the other guy like split him and hit him right off the bat, like separate. I don't know if they told each other, but apparently they must have. But she's like, I got one, and I know you know where the other one's at. So apparently she did. But anyways, but Sonya's like, I'm going to go because, Jax, that's my boy. I got to go, protect him as well. Katana's like, no. But then Zara's like, yes. So Katana's like, fine. Kind of weird. They finally get their girl talk slightly, it's not quite as girly as I was hoping. I just wanted to be like a slumber party, just fucking pillow fights and shit. Makeout sessions, but we didn't get that. But Sonya does kind of, express again her displeasure of constantly having to fight. But Katana does the same, but she's like, but this is what we gotta do. Like, the alternative is not acceptable. We can't have Outworld take over Earthrealm, so that's why we must fight, And so, they do kind of bond over that. They make their way Temple of Doom style, like just going through, Legends of the Hidden Temple, like they're just kind of climbing over shit and pushing things and crawling through shit. They finally get to the other sword. She gets it. And then when they show up, basically, they're like, do the handoff. And she's like, and Katana's like, no, free Jax first. And the other girl's like, no. So then they're like, fuck it, we'll fight. And they put the swords down. Well, they go to fight. And it's kind of evenly matched for the most part. But then Sonya runs for one blade, Zara runs for the other. And then hands it Katana. Katana is able to fight it away from Zara, and then she's able to free Jax from the thing. And once she frees Jax, they open up the portal, in come the defenders, and then of course Raiden opens up, I guess you could say a portal to the void. And they said that before, that almost send them to the void. I can only assume this is still Netherrealm, right? Is it not? I don't know. But and then there we go. Into the void they go. The other Amazon women fucking run off. And then the place is about to collapse. Katana's able to kind of open open. They get Jax out. The others get out. And then Sonya is like, I'm not going to leave you behind. Let's go. So she opens up another portal. And then she just tosses them in. And she's like, it's someplace that, they'll never be found. And it's just like, again, where are you fucking throwing these things to? Like, you're just throwing shit somewhere. Someone can pick that shit up. Same place Shang Tsung's at? I don't know. The Wing Warrior from last episode, he's still flying around dimension to dimension. He can pick him up. I don't know if that guy's even good or bad. I know he followed the space orb into the other dimension. We don't know. But anyway, he's going around. I don't know. Swords are in the other dimension, but then, you know, the whole time, and they do this like 2 or 3 times. It's like a closing. But every time, like, you know, Katana or Sonya will say, like, hey, you did it. It's like, no, we did it. Hey, you did it. No. We did it. This happens like 2 or 3 times. But then that's our final closing thing, and then they escape together back to freedom, to safety. It's an okay episode. I don't like that we just invented a character when you got so many great Mortal Kombat characters to choose from still. You know, we've yet to see Melina. We haven't seen Jade. You want a female character like that. We're up to Mortal Kombat 3, so, you know, Sindel was on the table. We haven't seen her yet. I just feel like there's so many other characters we could have used that we just haven't yet. So to create Zara for no real reason, I don't know. Seemed kind of ridiculous. Like a waste. But, and again, I don't know. I know. How can I say this without sounding like a sexist asshole? If you're a woman, it's okay to be feminine, even if you are the most badass chick out there. You can have both. And I'm not saying you can't. It just seems like this is the one thing that Sonya wouldn't worry about. Like, why would she give a shit? But at the same time, I also get that she's wanting that piece of normacy that she had, I guess, prior to Outworld trying to invade. So it was less about just being feminine, I guess, and just being in touch with herself. So I get that. Again, don't really give a shit, so not my storyline. But, you know, we get Katana and Sonya. We get kind of a bonding moment with them, so that's cool, I guess. You know, give them a little more something to do. So, yeah, this episode's okay. What did you guys think of episode 10? The Swords of Zara. The Swords of Ilkin. That's another thing. I'm established with Mortal Kombat lore, but all this fake added shit they throw on top of it, it confuses this guy. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I have no more room up here to keep storing new shit, so I'm constantly... Because now I'm thinking back, did Raiden and everything come through the portal? I don't even remember. Maybe they didn't, and they just got out. Doesn't matter. I'm losing my mind. That's all I got, guys. Thank you for watching, and till next time. Hey, it's Netherrealm Nobody, and this is Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 11, a men's review. Yeah, I'm still fighting the cold. So, in this episode, we get Sub-Zero and Sonya get jumped by the Black Dragon, and Cabal makes a save. But whose side is he on? Alright, so we start things off, and the whole group, they're looking, there's not a rift, but they get a lot of energy readings from like this old theater. It's like above like a subway station. Or sorry, subway tunnels. And Sonya and Sub-Zero are teamed up, and they're looking for it. And turns out they believe that this is the hideout of the Black Dragon. They're trying to find out, you know, where is the Black Dragon. And so when they're looking around, boom, they're getting shot at with like fireballs. And, you know, Sub-Zero goes one way, Sonya goes another way. And Sonya gets blasted, or close to getting blasted, and she gets knocked down. And you're thinking, oh shit, this is it. However, Cabal runs out, because he has super speed, and grabs her and takes off with her, rescuing her. And so at this point, you know, Liu Kang and the others come in through like fighter jets, through like the bottom, and it's like, how big is this theater for one that 2 full-size fighter jets are coming up through the bottom? I don't know. It seems like it'd be a really big theater. But, you know, they're looking for Sonya. So Sonya's underground at this point, and you do hear a lot of like, whenever Cabal's on screen, you get this Phantom of the Opera-esque organ music. And clearly they're kind of going for that, you know, kind of vibe here. And so anyways, as, you know, Cabal, you know, saves her essentially, you know, you hear the Black Dragon looking for him. And so she's ready to fight, but she's pretty banged up. And she's like, combat time! That's what Sonya says. But Cabal's like, no. Like, he's not putting me in that shit. He's just like, no, you're coming with me, you're beat up. And so he opens up a vent. He like parkours crazy into the vent, but he knocks it open and then, brings her up to it. And so while they're kind of, safely away, Black Dragon walks by. They all have like this weird like question mark tattoo on their face. I'm not sure if they're going for like some kind of Riddler thing or not. But anyways, Kano's with them, so it's revealed, Black Dragon. And so Cabal and Sonya kind of have this moment, and he's talking to her, and it's revealed that, he left the, he left the Black Dragon, and he would eventually, they turn, Shao Kahn and them, he tried to exterminate him, whatever, and they left him disfigured, and he, takes his mask off. Sonya looks at it, and he's all mangled, and he got like holes and shit in his cheek and everything. Like he looks pretty brutal. And however, she initially kind of screams, but she is showing compassion afterwards. And while this is going on, the others are looking for signs of the Black Dragon, and then they end up, they hear Sonya up ahead. And so Sonya's like, guys, I'm here. But when she turns around, Cabal has vanished. And so they take her back to headquarters. She tells them the story. And Raiden's there to kind of fill in the gaps. And so what it was is Shao Kahn could sense that after Cabal turned against the Black Dragon, he was going to be a chosen one of the chosen, defenders. And so Kahn decided, you know what, I'm taking him out early. And he sends his, like, ninja squad after him. But they're all, like, red ninjas, like, a bunch of Ermacs. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Because I thought, first when I saw the red ninja background, I was like, oh shit, Ermac's going to be in this episode. Not the case. Just a bunch of red ninjas. Really was hoping we get an Ermac reference. I'm like, we got, clearly Ermac makes an appearance before Quan Chi in the game. Because he was in Trilogy? Or was he in Ultimate 3? I don't remember. He's in one of them. But either way, that came out before Part 4 and Mythology. So, at this point, he was an established character, but whatever. So, anyways, so at this point, once they turned against him and fucked him up, he had to use a respirator to survive, and then we're here. I won't go into my whole thing about Cabal. If you want to hear my full thoughts on the Cabal character, check out the a look back at Mortal Kombat 3 video I did. But that's not here nor there. So anyways, but Sonya, she is kind of upset when she's hearing this whole story. And they're like, you kind of care for him. And she's like, absolutely no. She's clearly tearing up, right? She's getting very emotional. And so anyways, they're getting more readings from the same place. And they're like, well, clearly Black Dragon's still there. It's like, well, fucking duh. You didn't, catch him last time. Of course they're still there. So anyways, they end up, going back there, and they find like a baseball bat with like a Black Dragon emblem on it. And of course this conjures up the feeling that Sonya had about her partner being killed by Kano and everything. So this, it's getting really heavy for her, She kind of got this newfound ally in Cabal, and then now of course, Black Dragon and Kano, her former enemies. And so she's kind of an emotional wreck at this point. However, this giant sky beam just explodes to the bottom of the subway. And boom, into the sky. And the sky beam is actually a portal. And out walks, I forget the guy's name. He's an original character. We got another just new Defenders of the Realm original. Something Oshi. Yoshi? Oshi? Wasn't Yoshi, it was Oshi. I'm gonna call him Oshi. So anyways, Oshi walks out. This dude is like a gladiator samurai. He's like 10 feet tall, just built like a brick shell. He kind of reminds me of like Shredder without the blades. Like, take all the blades off his Shredder, and this motherfucker is just huge. And he's wielding, I think he has a sword initially. He has a whip later, but he has a sword initially. But he comes to the portal, and instantly, they're trying to fight him. Ice doesn't work. They're all trying to, Stryker takes this run at him and gets like bitched out instantly. I was like, oh no, this is where Stryker becomes a jobber, I guess, because he just gets jobbed out pretty quickly. But anyways, again, Cabal's able to kind of save Sonya Blade and everything. And so, they momentarily were able to knock him back into the portal. And then Cabal's like, listen, we gotta go hide. And he takes him back to his lair. And it's nothing special, just kind of like more subway tunnels, but cavey and very dank and misty. And of course, while everyone else is kind of away from him, Sonya goes over to him. And like the others, and it's weird because he hadn't really demasked yet. He's still wearing his Cabal mask. But it's already like, he's like, your friends don't even want to look at me. It's like, well, I don't know why they wouldn't. You clearly don't look hideous underneath this, but whatever. So anyways, but Sonya's talking to him, and it turns out they're kind of hitting it off. Like, it's definitely like a meet cute here. And literally, she tells a story about how when she was younger, she had a good friend named Maddie who had an accident. She wound up in a wheelchair, and she goes, everybody treated her differently after that. And it just pissed her off because, like, why don't they treat her the same? Can't they look past the chair? And so she's kind of feeling the same empathy for Cabal here. And, of course, Cabal, he's very receptive to this, and, they're really hitting things off. However, they're like, hey, there's another beam of energy about to come. Like, Nightwolf chimes in. And so, like, all right, let's go. And so Cabal's like, listen, the Black Dragon's fortress, I know where it's at. It's heavily guarded, and you guys aren't going to make it in there. Like, there's too many of them. You're going to need someone quick enough to slip in, and it's going to have to be me. And so you can tell Sonya don't really want him to go, but he fucks off and does it. So here's where it gets kind of goofy for me, because there's two guards at the thing, and like, yeah, Cabal's quick, but he just knocks him out real quick. Nothing special. And it's like, the others could have done this. They could have stormed this gate. And of course, he picks up the guard, he has to use a retinal scan to get him in, but he gets in there. Again, he just runs up to the device and puts a bomb on it, and I'm like, you're doing nothing that the others couldn't do. And when he does it, he gets caught instantly. And again, I'm like, if the whole group got caught, you could still have someone detonate this bomb on the, so it's a machine basically that just, like, generates the portal or whatever. And so Kano's explaining that, Shao Kahn gave him the access to this device, and basically it can open portals in any realm. And he's planning on recruiting Shao Kahn's army, plus an army for his own use. Because he's a fucking snake and he's going to turn on everybody because that's what Kano does. And so anyways, he don't say that, but it's a given. That's what Kano's going to do. So anyways, but he's like, sorry, Cabal, you should have turned against us, but you're going to get it now. And he opens up another portal, and out comes that Oshi guy. And now we're surrounded by Black Dragon and Oshi, and they're going to fuck Cabal up. But then, bam! In comes the fighters, the fighter jets, and here comes, the rest of the combat squad, the defenders, sorry. And, yeah, we just have a big battle royal. Everybody gets the shit in, and they're killing motherfuckers left and right. Like, dude, they end up freezing one guy and just throwing him into the portal. I'm like, dude, he's shattered on impact. Katana fans a guy, like, swipes through it. Now, we don't see blood. We don't see that guy get thrown to the portal either, because it cuts to another guy getting bicycle kicked into the portal. So I gotta assume that dude who got swiped across the chest, he's dead. And so it comes down, and then they all team up, and Jax ends up beating the shit out of Oshi, knocking him back into the portal as well. And then Sonya and Kano get into it. Sonya gets the best initially, but then Kano fights back. However, Cabal gets pissed off. That's his girl now, and he runs in, beats the shit out of Kano, throws him to the portal. And then they're all like, hey, sorry I couldn't, Liu Kang, I couldn't keep her back. She insisted we come here. I'm like, you guys should have all went together in the first place. There was no reason why you guys had to go, Cabal first and then the group, but whatever. However, the Cabal goes set the alarm, or the bomb off. They get in their jets to take off. And then they get, like, a message from Kano, like, FaceTime. And he's just like, here's a going away present. And the whole place blows up. And I'm like, okay, was that not from the bomb from the device you blew up? But apparently Kano had the rest of the subway rigged as well. But it don't matter. They all end up flying out of the tunnels to safety. And the place blows up. So we're back at the home base now. It's a big happy ending. And they're like, Cabal, you ought to join us. Thank you for helping us out. You should join us full time. And he still kind of feels like, I've heard to mention that, his reasoning for hiding in the sewers in the first place to fight the Black Dragon is he feels like he has to atone, to make amends, if you will. Name of the episode. He has to atone for all his crimes he's committed in the past when he was part of the Black Dragon. And he feels like it's almost like karma coming back at him. And so until he can kind of right the wrongs on his own, he feels like he must continue to do it alone. Well, when they kind of offer him the olive branch, like, hey, join us. And of course, Sonya's like, yeah, I mean, you don't have a house anymore. Like, they blew up your place. He's like, I'll find a new home, and I'm going to train, get better, and I'll still take it to, the Black Dragon and Shao Kahn's army. And, of course, at this point, everybody leaves him alone, because they kind of realize there's sort of like a pseudo-romantic thing going on here. And they have their moment, but of course, he's like, I can't be with you, I have to, go on my own. She goes to tear up. He wipes the tear away and says goodbye. End of the episode. Overall, I really liked it. I was a fan. I thought this actually was a really good story. I think Sonya is one of those characters that I'm growing to like more. Even though last week's episode was all about her trying to get girl time with Katana, that storyline was a little bit ridiculous, but when the underlying current of that was less trying to have more girl time and more just being tired of fighting this war in general, I don't know, you can look at it a little bit more favorably. I feel like she's been given a lot to work with, and she has, with her partner, Cabal, her sick of this war, they give her a lot of character development, and she's grown on me since that first episode where she's just like, combat time! I thought that was going to be her whole shtick the whole time, so I'm really glad to see that's not the case. Story's good, Cabal's back. This is an episode that kind of makes me sad this show was canceled after one season, because Cabal would have been a recurring character, and I think he works better as a recurring character. I don't think he would have been great weekly with the others. I think having him come in, 2, maybe 3 times a season would have been perfect. I don't like the fact that we had red ninjas for Shao Kahn's assassins, because again, it's Ermac, and I want Ermac. I don't want all these ninja wannabes. I don't know, I don't like it. So I would change that. I don't mind original characters. I don't like it when they take center stage completely, like last week with Zara. I didn't like that. But if they're part of, like, Kano's army or whatever, I'm cool with that. So Oshi was a cool addition to it. And he was strong. I mean, the dude, like I said, he was 10 feet fucking tall almost. Like, he doubled everybody. Looked very impressive, and they didn't overuse him. So yeah, overall, thumbs up. I really liked the men's. One of the better episodes of the show. So, if you guys have seen it, give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Not just with this episode. I'm hitting all these episodes, guys. So check out all the videos I'm doing about Defenders of the Realm. Let me know what you guys thought of the show in general. Again, come at it with the right frame of mind. I swear, I hate when we're like, worst thing ever. It's like, it's a cartoon show for kids. Fuck off. Anyways, I'm enjoying it for what it is. So anyway, that's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching, and till next time. Hey, I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm, Episode 12, Abandoned Review. Alrighty, so Jax kind of moping in this episode, and basically he gets himself kidnapped by Ermac and his clan, but don't worry, the defenders are there to save the day. So, alrighty, so we start things off. We got a massive battle between the defenders and the Shokans, and again, I will always point out when our defenders just straight up kill their enemies. We get a scene where Jax grabs Shokan. Imagine how big these Shokans are, by the way. They're massive 4-armed beasts, but Jack, gets his metal arm wrapped around dude and just squeezes, and you hear the crunch, and then he just discards him. And then we get to a point where you see them all fighting, and they're all using their special powers and special moves and all that stuff. And Sub-Zero looks at Stryker. He's like, "Hey, you gotta close that rift." And so you see some more Shokans coming through. Stryker comes in like a badass, knocks them all through the portal, goes to seal it, and Sub-Zero says, "Hey, the rest have already been taken care of." What? He said there's no more. That's what it was, too. There's no more. Go ahead, seal the rift. And it's like, holy shit, they just killed him. They straight up murdered the Shokan. This is a war, people. We're not playing around anymore. So anyways, they seal the rift. It starts raining. We find out that Jax's grandfather has passed away, and worse yet, they've already had the funeral for him. And so Jax is really feeling bad because he's like, I've been here fighting so much that, news of my grandfather didn't even reach me until after his funeral. And so Sonya's trying to console him and everything, and at that point, he even kind of says, like, this isn't about this thing, because everybody's like, we all need a vacation. He's like, it's not about vacation for me. Like, I just want to be done with this. So, when they get back to the headquarters, and of course, at this point, Sonya's feeling really, she's shaken by this whole thing. She's sad. It's her, her best friend. And so,
you know, Jax pretty much just says, you know what, I'm going to leave for a while. No more metal arms. He's got like a jacket on, or a nice little button-up shirt. Almost a pop collar. Not quite, but almost. But he's he's saying he's done and everything. And he's leaving. So they all kind of leave. There's a bit of a tearful goodbye with Sonya. She kisses him and then walks away. Of course, at this point, as he's, you know, it's not, because there's another rift. Of course, you know, he's like, you know, go on, you're good. Not a big deal. He pets Kiva one last time, and then when Nightwolf looks at him, he tells Nightwolf, listen, I didn't want to say something on Sonya, but, like, I'm gone for good. Like, I'm not coming back. Which I thought he kind of made clear back in the monsoon, but whatever. So, but then Raiden comes down, kind of tries to be like, hey, listen, this is your destiny. But Jax is over it. And so Raiden kind of gives his blessing. Like, fine, I hope you find what you're looking for out there. And then even he admits, I'm going to miss you. Which is also is another great little moment there. So, we kind of did a time jump, because the next scene is literally Jax with, I guess, his new girlfriend, Ruby. And, but then he's like, these last few months, I was like, whoa, or last few weeks, I'm just like, man, this has been going on for a minute now. Like, we jumped into this. You find out that him and Ruby was actually taking care of his grandfather in his, you know, final days or whatever. And so he kind of hooks up with her, and, you know, she's, you know, pumping all these questions and everything, trying to figure, you know, what do you do for a living, all this stuff. And while this is going on, we see Shao Kahn, and he's just like, yep, she's doing her plan. We got Ruby on our side. Like, he just spells it all out for us. And then he looks at Ermac. Now, here's where it just bugs me to no end. He's like, you know, go ahead and, you know, get him. Get Jax. He refers to him as Ermac, and throughout the episode, they're going to refer to him as Ermac. The problem is, there's a bunch of red ninjas, and we've already established these red ninjas in a previous episode where they didn't refer to him as Ermac. So I guess he wasn't a part of those ninjas, but there's no way to differentiate Ermac from the others. It's very much like, was it Carbrak? The Baraka ripoff? The new leader of the Nomads? There's no way to tell which one's which. And the same goes for Reptile, I guess, was with the other reptilians. It's like, you can't tell who's who. Like, the only one who's done it good so far, at least with Cyrax's Sector, you know, all the other cyborgs are all gray. And then with Shiva, the Shao Kahns are all different. Like, they're not just like in one uniform. They're all got different, distinct looks to them. And it's just weird because throughout this fight, I mean, there's only one of them that talks, and at one point they refer to him as Ermac. But outside that, I'm just thinking, like, okay, is that supposed to be Ermac? Oh no, is that supposed to be? You don't know. You just don't. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. You could have had all the ninjas. I know it's like Smoke's colors, but since Smoke is now officially a cyborg, you could have made all the ninjas just gray or black, not like shadowy black, because that's noob. But you could have had them all something different. White, even. No one's taken white yet. You could have had a bunch of white ninjas. And then that way you could tell who the leader is. But I don't know. So anyways, I don't like that aspect of this at all. But anyways, while this is all going on, Sonya's wanting Nightwolf to go spy on Jax. Which is kind of creepy, but it does save Jax's life, so whatever. But you can tell Sonya is jealous right off the bat. And they do kind of play like some saxophone sex music while Ruby and Jax are kind of hanging out. But, you know, Sonya's pissed right off the bat. You know how Sonya gets. Anyways, there's a rift, and they find out, holy crap, it's heading towards Jax. And so, at that point, we see Ermac and the other red ninjas break through. They're fighting. Ermac even unmasked at one point. Like, I guess he don't quite have the story. I'm not sure when that storyline happened, when he was like, I think it was in the, see, he wasn't in 3, he was in, was it Trilogy or was it Ultimate? I think it was Ultimate 3 he made his thing. Did they establish in Ultimate 3 that he had, you know, all the other souls of the fallen warriors were in his body or whatever? I don't know. But here he look like a normal dude. Like, at one point he just takes his mask off. He's like, yep, you did good. Shao Kahn's gonna be happy. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, I don't know. I get it. If this came out before that, they just knew there was an Ermac character. They probably had carte blanche to do whatever the hell they wanted, but it's just like, Anyways, past all that. Whenever Jax is fighting them all off, he turns around because he's trying to protect Ruby, but Ruby
sprays him, takes him down. Turns out, oh my gosh, he's bad all along. When Katana sees this, she recognizes Ruby from her past. And apparently she betrayed her people, betrayed Katana, and, here she is now. I should mention now, doing my research on this episode, that I seem like there's like 3 different elements of her personality they kind of carried on, in a sense. I guess initially, this was supposed to be Jade, which would have made sense because she's a character that's already established in the video games at this point. And she's even dark complected like they made Jade in the video games as well. But for whatever reason, they just decided to go with another stone and call her Ruby instead. So I don't quite get that, but whatever. So that's one of the origins I read. But then, clearly she's in all red. She looks like a female Ermac, really. But the fact that she's kind of like a red female ninja, that kind of falls in line with Scarlet, which would happen, I forget when she debuted, but later in the game. And then she betrayed her own people, kind of like Tanya, or Tanya. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've only read it. I've never seen her or heard her name spoken out loud, I guess. But Tanya, I'll say Tanya. Because that's her storyline, that she betrayed the Adenium people. So, they got a lot of elements into this one character right here, which to my knowledge, Ruby has never made an appearance outside the show. So, anyway, but, her DNA is out there in all these different characters. With the exception of maybe Jade, because Jade came before her. But either way. So, they formulate a plan. They're going to head out there. Of course, Raiden has to once again tell everybody, hey, remember, I can't go with you. I have no powers out there. It's like his whole shtick. He just can't wait to tell them, oh, I can't go out there. I bet he can. I bet his powers are perfect in all these other realms. He's just a lazy fucker. You don't want to go out there. That's my theory. I'm sticking with it. Anyways, so they all fly out there. As soon as they get there, Ermac and his armies like laser blasted them. They got like red lasers coming out of their fists. It's crazy. They fight them off, and basically Liu Kang, Stryker, and Sub-Zero kind of hold them off, while Nightwolf, Sonya, and Katana go to get Jax. Because they realize that even though they're in Outworld, they're in, I forget the name of it, Empire? The Empire Realm or whatever, which I thought realm meant like a different world, but they're in Outworld. So maybe it's a region. I don't know. But either way, that's where Ruby grew up. So now they believe that that's where he went, and they were right. Who knew? Anyway, but they go to rescue him. So they rescue him. The funny thing is, like when Jax leaves the headquarters in the beginning, he took his metal arms off. Like you see, he doesn't have his metal arms on. And even when he's talking to O-Girl, he didn't have his metal arms. But then when we're in this area, and we see him get gassed, like Ruby gasses him, they take him away. No one's taking metal arms with him, but for whatever reason, they're laying on a table next to him as he's being tortured. That's the whole thing. Shao Kahn's there, and he's just like, we got ways of, my Shadow Priests have ways of making you talk, so, he's gonna get tortured. They beat the shit out of him. They rough him up pretty good. So anyways, but his metal arms are right there, so when they come to rescue him, they end up giving him his metal arms back. Well, then Shao Kahn shows up with the cyborgs, and all these cyborgs pop out, the Lin Kuei cybernetic warriors. And so they fight, beat them all off, we're good. And then at one point, Ruby and Katana square off, and the whole time Ruby, she's kind of heartless toward Jax. And Jax like, what we had real, and she's like, sorry, this was, just business, it wasn't personal. Her and Ruby and Katana have a fight. Katana beats her, and then they're about to walk out, and Shao Kahn's like, not so fast, more, another wave, now there's even more. Like, first time there was like 4 Cyber Warriors, now there's 8. And as they're closing in, Ruby grabs a lever, pulls it, and she's like, not this time, Shao Kahn. And a trapdoor opens up, and our defenders fall down on the floor, and then Ruby runs and jumps in after him, and then as it closes, Kahn blasts through it, and he's like, Inspector Gadget, he does that whole shtick. So, as they land on the ground, Jax is just like, or everyone's like, we can't trust her, but she's like, I'm now in just as much trouble as you guys. Like, Kahn wants me dead, just like he wants you guys dead. Follow me, I know how to get out of here. And so she leads them out. They meet with the others, they get back in their fighter jets. And of course, at this point, Jax is like, come with us. Like, no one else wants her, clearly, but Jax is like, come with us. And you feel like there's something there But her whole thing is like, listen, I can't leave my people behind, and, you know, there's no way I can make up for what I did, but clearly, hopefully, you know, I can start redeeming myself now. Got you guys out of here, now I need to stay here and try to help overthrow Khan. And so, Jax says goodbye, Sonya pulls him away, they fly away. I don't know if Ermac's part of the group or not, but a bunch of red ninjas run behind, and they start blasting up there. As she's just standing there for tear in her eye, they fly off. So we end the episode. Jax has got his metal arms back on, shirtless, and he's watching horses run wild in a sunset. And of course, Sonya comes up there and sees it, and they kind of have a moment, and they kind of snuggle, I guess. And then he basically says he's going to stay. You know, it's his responsibility. He can't turn his back on the realm, and he knows what Shao Kahn is capable of, so he doesn't want to turn his back on him. So he's sticking around. And that's how the episode ends. I really like this episode. That's one thing, this show, I didn't realize it the first time I watched it, but now that I'm watching it back, I realize this is a theme that's going on throughout, is that we're seeing the effects of the war on all the defenders. Like, every one of them has had a moment now, almost, where they're just like, I'm done. I am tired of constantly having to fight. There's got to be more to it than this is. And so, I like that. And I feel like if this show would have went on further, it would have been great to kind of, I don't know, if they would have took that with it more psychological with it. Well, I don't know. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. As of recording this, because I record all this stuff and this shit gets distributed way out there, so it's way in the future before you guys even get it. So, hey, by the time this thing comes out, the movie Mortal Kombat 2 will already been released or whatever. Anyways, at this time, though, the big news was at one point Netflix was going to buy Warner Brothers, but now it seems that Paramount's going to do it. I was excited initially when Netflix was going to be the one because they'll just pump out anything, and I was hoping like, hey, maybe we'll get a Mortal Kombat, you know, show. Maybe they'll start doing more of the Legends, you know, stuff. But the thing about Netflix that sucks is they'll cancel shit just outright. That's why I quit watching Netflix, honestly. We only have it because my kid and girlfriend want to see it. Like, I personally could give a shit about Netflix. Like, I'm a bootlegger. I'll pirate that stuff. I'll go to a site and watch whatever I need to watch. They're not going to get my money or my, you know, views or whatever. I'll get someone else. And I thought, you know, we may get a Mortal Kombat show from Netflix. But who's to say when it got canceled after one season? It could have been the same as this. Just boom, one season, gone. And so now Paramount is kind of taking the reins. I'm really kind of hoping maybe this will be a better thing overall. Because I would personally love to see, you know, a new Mortal Kombat series. And I'm not saying it has to be kid-friendly. I'm also not saying it has to be straight-up rated R either. You can find a middle ground. I'm cool with it. I'm good either way. You can give me any three of those choices. I'll be happy with it. But I would love to see just a long-form Mortal Kombat series. Let it breathe. And I honestly, let's go old school with it. Let's go through the series again. But in long form. Let's build up. I want to see the full-on invasion, but I want to see the tournaments before that. I want to see every piece of this play out. I want to see the battle between Shinnok and Quan Chi against the Elder Gods. I want to see that battle play out. I want to see all these great stories. I want to see, you know, an episode where we basically do Sub-Zero's mythologies. Or maybe do a whole episode featuring the Special Forces. I know the games were panned, but you can't deny there's a good story there. So, I don't know. I know this is supposed to be about reviewing this. I got off on topic altogether. But anyways, to wrap this thing up, decent episode. We got one episode left. And I will rank the episodes on that episode. And we'll put a bow on this series completely. So if you guys have seen this episode, Abandoned, give me your thoughts on it. What'd you think about it? I went into it rolling my eyes initially because I was like, my God, Jax is kind of a bitch in this show. Like, he whines and complains way too much about nothing. But this one seemed justified. Like, as soon as he's just like, I missed my grandfather's funeral, I was like, I can't bust his balls about that. All right, Jax, you won me over. And it's a good story. It's a good, you know, it's a good episode. So, anyways, that's all I got for this one, guys. Thank you for watching, and until next time. Hey! I'm the Netherrealm Nobody, and this is the Mortal Kombat's Defenders of the Realm, Episode 13, Overthrown Review. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be glad to get over the whole naming the titles that long. Crazy intros. Alrighty, so guys, we finally made it to the finale of the entire series. Basically, this episode, it's the anniversary of King Jareth's death, and Katana's wanting to avenge that. However, we get a crazy pairing of Shiva and Shang Tsung, and we also get the crazy pairing of Raiden with Motaro, the other Centaurians, and the Tarkatans, or sorry, Nomads. How did we get there? Well, it's a crazy-ass journey, so let's get right into it. So, we kick things off, Katana's remembering, because again, the anniversary's coming up, she's remembering, the fall of her father and everything, and Shao Kahn's takeover of Edenia. And so what happens is, she devises a plan, she's wanting to basically overthrow Shao Kahn, take back, Outworld. I guess I don't know if she can bring back Edenia or not. If at this point it's like gone, or if once you take over the realm, you can, I don't know. But her plan is basically to, just take out Shao Kahn. And so, her and Liu Kang kind of, talk and everything. And then we are introduced to Asgarth, who's like Bird Person. And I'm probably going to just refer to him as Bird Person this entire episode. That's who it reminded me of the entire time I'm watching this thing. But apparently he was King Jareth's, like, trusty advisor or whatever. And then we find out that Katana's getting some help from Shiva and the other Shokan. And her rationale is she, is tired of taking orders from Shang Tsung. The fact that, Shang Tsung, Shiva, has joined up, and her reason is she's tired of taking orders from Shao Kahn. Because Shao Kahn placed Motaro as the head, of the extermination squad. Sorry, getting tongue-tied here. And so she's already, she's pissed about that, because we all know Shokans and Centaurians, they don't get along. And so she's pissed about that. However, Liu Kang is not buying it. He's just like, I don't know, why is she helping us now? Even with that, response, I don't trust her. And then back at the home base, they're all watching, closed caption, or closed circuit, and, they're all saying the same thing, like, we can't trust them either. Now, the only one that's kind of okay with it is Sub-Zero. And, of course, Sub-Zero's against it. Sonya is kind of in on it, because she goes, listen, Sub-Zero, we trusted you, and we didn't have to. However, as all this is going on, they do make the plan, and they have the plan to, overthrow Shao Kahn. However, we find out that Shiva is not actually Shiva. It's Shang Tsung in disguise. And Shang and Shao Kahn decide they're going to, destroy the defenders once and for all. Like that. And of course, Shang Tsung's even asking, like, why aren't you just using Shiva for real? Like, you don't need me. And of course, Shao Kahn's like, she's too stupid. And the Shokan are all stupid, and, I need you. We gotta trust you with this. And on the outskirts, I guess, Motaro is kind of rallying the Centaurs and the Tarkatans together. I know they're called Nomads in this show, but I'm sticking with Tarkatans. So, we now cut back to Earthrealm. Everyone's trying to tell Katana, like, listen, this doesn't seem right. But, Shiva says she's all in, and she's willing to fight side by side with Raiden and the other defenders. And so, as Katana, Asgard, and Liu Kang are, already heading out to Outworld, Raiden's going to send the others along with him, but he's already hesitant. And he's like, listen, we're not doing this. And they're like, we have to. We told Katana we'd help her out. And he's like, well, listen, that's fine. And as Nightwolf's about to get up, he's like, no, Nightwolf, you're staying, because we got to have someone protect the home base in case things go sideways. And then he's like, I can't go because I don't have, the power, that I have, here. Which is his fucking bitching the entire series, is like, I don't have the power in that world. He brings it up once a goddamn episode, it seems like. And of course, they're just like, well, listen, we need you guys out there. And Raiden's rationale is, well, if Katana's plan is so good, 2 less people ain't going to make a difference. And I'm like, that's the dumbest fucking logic ever. Now, we'll find out later, Raiden kind of knows what's going on, and he has an idea and all that stuff, and whatever. He's got his own plan.
But that's what he tells his people. And I'm like, I'd be pretty pissed off. I'm like, that is the plan. That's literally like saying, hey, we're going to a street fight. It's going to be 5 against 5. And here's my plan. We're going to jump them or whatever. And then whoever's in our group's like, well, we're taking 2 out. Like, we're leaving. We're staying behind. You 3 go ahead, though. Because you're playing so good, you don't need us to. Well, it's like, no, dick. Those were the plans. We needed you to. I don't know. It was kind of ridiculous moment there for Raiden. But, like I said, I guess we find out later he kind of knew what, sort of what was going on. He knew something was amiss. That's what we'll say. So, anyways, we now cut to Liu Kang, Katana, and Asgard. And, as they're about to lead this rebellion into the, thing, Shao Kahn shows up with Ermac and the other red ninjas. And more cybernetic Lin Kuei warriors. And so at this point, they realize, oh shit, we've maybe been set up. They do fight for a bit. We get actually a really awesome battle sequence. Even like Shadow Warriors or Shadow Priests are getting involved and everything. However, when Shiva shows up, we get another Shiva. And it's like, what? And you got Shiva and Shao Kahn and Shiva and more Shao Kahn. And of course, Shiva yells out, no, Shao Kahn, we're not going to follow you. Well, Shang Tsung transforms back from Shiva, so he's in his regular form now. And at this point now, everybody's like, what's going on? Well, Shiva and Shang Tsung has decided to turn against Shao Kahn. And Shang Tsung double-crossed him, told Shiva that, hey, Shao Kahn thinks you're stupid, along with all your entire people, blah, blah, blah. And now it's my time. And Shiva has basically pledged allegiance to Shang Tsung to take over Outworld. Katana's devastated at this point. The other defenders show up, and they're there, and here comes Raiden. And he goes, well, wait a minute, not so fast. And he knew the whole time that something was up because he says that him and Shiva hate each other and they would never team up. Which they kind of had a bit of a history on the show. I mean, they had their run-ins, but I didn't think it was that deep. It wasn't as deep as, the rival between him and Shang Tsung, or even him and Shao Kahn. But whatever. They try to make it like this is like the biggest beef on the show. And so anyways, whenever they're about to, take out Ray, they're like, well, you don't have your powers. And he's like, well, I got more power than you think. But he don't show any power. In fact, he just shows up with Mortaro, the Centaurians, and the Tarkatans. And, of course, at this point now, he's, hey, look, they took the Shokans over you guys. Or, sorry, yeah. So, and, of course, we all know Centaurians and Shokans are natural enemies, blah, 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 blah. And now they're going to war against each other. They do try to take out Shao Kahn at one point, and then he and the Shadow Priest disappear and get the fuck out. And then a big battle erupts between, the Centaurians and Motaro and the Harkottans, and Shiva, Shang, and the Shokan. However, it doesn't take long for the defenders to realize, hey, we're stuck in the middle here, we gotta fight our way out, because whoever wins, they're gonna come after us next anyways. And so we get this awesome battle, everyone's fighting. Sub-Zero kills a Tarkatan, ices him, and then, breaks him, shatters him. That's murder. Again, I'm just pointing out every time these guys, kick some ass and, take names. So anyways, they finally get out. And of course we end with, because the whole time, and I guess I kind of glossed over this, I apologize. I'm sorry. This is the first time I'm kind of shooting early morning with these videos. I usually did at night. And this has been a long series I've been covering, so, I apologize for my unprofessionalism. Anyways, I glossed over the fact that Katana and Liu Kang, they're both kind of sad that, this whole thing is kind of coming to an end. Yes, Katana was about to, take over the throne once more, overthrow Shao Kahn. But Liu Kang realizes that, he's going to stay on Earthrealm with the Defenders and Katana's leaving. And so there's this kind of bittersweetness to the whole thing. And so at the end, Katana realizes her plans that, it's a bust, as Raiden says, and it doesn't work. And her and Liu Kang kind of share that moment. Of course, Katana takes it pretty well, really. She's like, well, maybe it messed up this time, but I'll get my chance next time. And Liu Kang's like, well, at least we're together. And she's like, hey, we'll always be together, which isn't the case. Because honestly, I just don't see either one of them leaving their respective realms. But anyways, we don't have to worry about that now because they head back into the portal, leaving Asgard behind. I thought that was kind of an odd choice because everyone else bails. But then, But I guess they also had, I forgot to mention that too, they had a lot of King Jarrett's other followers too. But apparently they weren't in a major battle royale at the end. I don't know. They kind of just get lost in the shuffle. And that's it. The series is over. Honestly, I thought the build-up on this episode was really good. I love seeing all these moving parts. I love seeing betrayals. But then it just ends. And that's the thing. I don't know. Even if it would have ended on a cliffhanger that would have never resolved, it would have felt like there would have been more to this. But they just quickly shut the books on it. And it's just like, that's it, we're back. And like, even the fact like Katana is even just kind of like, well, you win some, you lose some. I guess I'll try better next time. I didn't like that. I don't know. I felt like this had a great build, but the climax fell flat. And just didn't have that emotional payoff that I was looking for. But overall, it was still a decent episode. We put a cap on the end of the series. We did it, guys. 13 episodes. We've been through all 13 episodes. What do I think about the series in general? Honestly, I'm giving it a thumbs up. It's not perfect. They would perfect the animated art form with the Legends series later on. But I like seeing all these characters assemble. There were a few missteps. I didn't like anytime they deviated from real characters. We didn't need Ruby. We could have had Jade. We didn't need Carbrak. Could have had Baraka. We didn't need, different reptiles. The Ermac thing bugged me, which I did like Ermac in this one, because in this episode, the finale, he fought with his mask off the whole time. Now, it took away the mystique of Ermac, and the fact that he looked like a middle-aged fucking... He looked like, Ra's al Ghul. That's who it reminded me of. Ra's al Ghul from Batman. That's who it reminded me of as I'm looking at this. It's like some middle-aged wizard guy in a red ninja outfit. But at least he was now differentiated from the other red ninjas. So, I digress. Like I said, I didn't like the fact that we kept switching characters out for others. But at the same time, this was rich, full of characters, and it did a pretty good job of, setting up what could have been storylines down the road. We introduced Smoke, Cabal, Rain, and we don't get full, even Kano, and we don't get full payoffs on any of these. But I feel like if the show would have kept going, who knows? I would have liked to have seen Johnny Cage enter the fray at some point. It would have been neat to see Shinnok. I think had the show kept going with the video game series, we would have got more characters introduced and we could have got more storylines that way. But as it stands, I enjoy it. It is, again, it's a little piece of Mortal Kombat history. Kind of like a lot of their TV series, they were very short-lived. So, and I mentioned at the top of the thing that I would eventually rank these episodes. So let me, there we go. So, 13 episodes. I'll start with my number 13. I'm going with episode 8, The Secret of Quan Chi. This is the one that had that angry stone that turned everybody evil. That was just annoying to me. Cool concept, kind of, but the fact that, Jax pre-evil stone is crying like a bitch for being called Blubberbutt, you can fuck off. At number 12, I'm going episode 2, Sting of the Scorpion. My main reason for thinking this is I don't like the way they portrayed Scorpion in this. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way he talks to begin with at all. But again, he reminded me like an Inspector Gadget villain, Dr. Claw. Didn't like it. Just didn't like it. Yeah. At number 11, I'm going episode 3, Acid Tongue. Kind of same thing. I didn't like the fact that we got a million reptiles and not one reptile was standing at the forefront. And this is another episode that Jax is crying because of his fucking metal arms. And I don't know, Jax to me, I didn't think this through. I'm fogging my glasses up by talking with his mask on. Anyways, I just didn't like the fact that Jax is kind of a crying bitch throughout this as well. Yeah, so I wasn't big on it. Number 10, I'm going episode 13, Overthrown. This is the finale. Great episode, I think. And I should mention that from here on out, I think all the episodes are really good. It's nitpicky, and I think that like I said, the ending just kind of fell flat for me. That's why it gets, such a low ranking. At number 9, we're going to episode 10, The Swords of Ilkon. This is the one that we had introduced Zara into it. I don't know, I just wasn't that big on the character Zara. And we also had that whole, weird
let's have Katana and Sonya try to girl bond, and it seemed completely unnecessary to me. Wasn't that big on it. At number 8, number 8, episode 4, Skin Deep. That's the one with Rain. And I liked it. I thought, having Rain included in this thing was really cool. But yeah, I did, wasn't as good as the others. At number 7, it's actually number 7, Fall from Grace. This is the one where Sonya gets put on suspension because she can't, learn that. And that would start off cheesy for me, but I did like Quiet on the Set. Sorry, I gotta yell at these Netherrealm demons sometimes for coughing. Anyways, this is the one where Sonya gets suspended because she can't work well with others. And I said it started off very cheesy, I thought. But seeing her and Stryker kind of become friends at the end, I liked that whole story arc. And I thought it worked out pretty good. So, number 6, also episode 6, was Familiar Red. That's the one with Kano. And, yeah, I dug it. I liked, I'm always a big fan of Kano. Anytime you can introduce him to the story, I'm all for it. And we also get the, kind of backstory, and we get an emotional kind of beat with Sonya Blade here, and I like that. So, at number 5, we're going to go episode 9, Resurrection. This is the one where Shang Tsung comes back. This is also the one where Raiden loses his powers. And what also felt like it was going to be a cheesy episode turned out to be really good. I really liked the dynamics between him and Jax. And it paid off well because unlike the Shiva Raiden feud, Jax and Raiden has been busting each other's balls the whole series. So it made sense here that they become these unlikely, partners or whatever. So I like that. At number 4, we're going to go episode 11, Amends. This is the one with Cabal. I thought I liked his addition to the story. He was a character I would have liked to see more of here. I like this version of Cabal. Now, I'm not saying he wouldn't have gone evil later, but I like him in early Mortal Kombat games because his affiliation's unknown. We know later on he'll turn evil again, rejoin the Black Dragon or whatever. But here, he wants his revenge for being disfigured by the Extermination Squads, and that's the Cabal I like. So, yes. At number 3, now we're getting to the top 3 episodes of Mortal Kombat: Defenders of the Realm. For me, at number 3, I'm going to go with episode 12, Abandoned. As much as I didn't really care the fact that they had a character named Ruby instead of just using Jade, this was a very solid episode. I love, the whole backstory with Ruby, her and Katana's feud, which again will be kind of reused with Tanya later on. And then Jax is the whole thing. I loved, he's the first one to actually say, fuck it, I am walking away from this. Even though it doesn't last long and he gets pulled back into it. That was a theme that was prevalent throughout the series that I wish would have went a little further, was they're tired of the endless fighting. And when you look at the video game series as a whole, that is kind of where we're going with this, because it never ends. In fact, in the first timeline, it's going to end with everyone dying. So it's like, there you go. There is some, logic behind this of like, what good is this if, all we're doing is fighting, we're not enjoying life, we can't enjoy life because these assholes are trying to take us over, and it's ultimately going to, end with everyone dying anyways. It's kind of a bleak thing, so, and if you're, I know Raiden don't know this now, as he does in other timelines, but it's like, even Raiden's got to think to himself, like, is there an end in sight? Number 2, I'm going with episode 1, Combat Begins Again. I thought, I kept trying to push it down each time, but honestly, I thought it set the tone really well. I don't know. I thought it set up, the fights well, the fact that this is going to be storyline, the fact that, for the most part, episodes are going to continue into each other. I love that aspect of it, because again, this was the mid-90s. We didn't have that back then. It was literally, so this was a new concept, I thought. And so, yeah, I thought the first episode did really well. You had a lot of characters, even though Carbarak was one of them, but you had Cyrax, Sector, and then, of course, the incoming Scorpion, And finally, my number 1 episode is Old Friends Never Die, episode 5. This is the episode with Smoke. And, yeah, again, just because of the drama that they included into this, we get the Cybernetic Initiative storyline, and then we get, this kind of uneasy alliance at the end with Smoke and Sub-Zero. Brilliantly done. So, guys, there you have it. I hope this video wasn't too long compared to the other ones, but that was Mortal Kombat Defenders of the Realm. I would love to hear your guys' take on this. And if you don't like it, expand a little more, and don't give me that bullshit that it's just too cartoony or the fact that it was made for kids. Because again, these video games were made for kids. Let's be real. They're violent, yes. But who are pumping quarters into these machines? Who's buying these toys, these comic books, these video games? Kids. So I would love to hear your actual thoughts. I would love to have people actually go through, actually watch it. I feel like a lot of people who talk shit about this just hear about it, see a couple clips, and then form their own opinion. I don't know if anybody's actually watching it, and I would love to see people actually watch this and give a fair assessment. So, guys, that's all I got. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and until next time.